It all kicks off in a pet shop where a customer is totally losing her mind over a 3 million price tag for a slime, calling the whole place a giant scam. Big mad, she claims the little guy is worth 3,000 tops and hits the owner with the classic, "Do you even know how to tame beasts, bro?" Lu Yu stays cooler than the other side of the pillow and just says this ain't your average everyday monster. He guarantees the hefty price tag totally matches the quality and will absolutely blow her away. The girl claps back, saying the little dude is only at the awakening tier, and with that kind of cash, she could buy something with way more potential. Nodding along, the MC agrees she's absolutely right. But he drops a truth bomb. His slime is a billion times more op than those star-tier pets. Lu Yu explains this slime has a mutant devour talent, meaning it can infinitely break its limits if you feed it the right snacks. Totally side-eyeing this wild claim, the customer asks why on earth she should trust his word. The salesman suggests she do a quick vibe check and test it out herself. Suddenly, high heels click-clack into the shop, and a voice mocks him, saying the young master of the Lu family is out here running scams now. The blonde Bai Yue shows up dripping with irony, acting like she forgot our boy already got booted from his family. Recognizing his toxic ex immediately, Lu Yu asks what she's doing crashing his turf. She flexes that she just came to check on the ex, who doesn't even have the basic talent to tame a goldfish. The customer jumps in, thinking it's wild that a guy is running a pet shop with zero skills in the biz. Unbothered by the shade, Lu Yu fires back that his personal stats don't stop him from making sales. Yue turns up the toxicity, saying a guy like him should just go touch grass and live like an NPC after she dumped him. Watching the drama unfold, the customer notes the blonde is giving major mean girl from an anime energy. The MC advises his customer not to stoop to the level of people who are just naturally bitter and petty. Triggered by being called a scammer, the blonde tells him to zip it, while the customer finally decides to test the slime. To run the test, the girl tosses a silver-grade treat to the little blue blob. The second it makes contact, the slime vacuums up the item like it's nothing. Suddenly, the creature starts glowing like a glow stick and levels up right in front of them. The girl is shook when the potential skyrockets straight to rank 9, and it even unlocks a brand new water-type skill. Mind blown by the sudden glow-up, the ex-girlfriend just stares, completely glitching out. Feeling super validated, the customer celebrates her big brain moment for ignoring Yue's trash talk. Super hyped, she jokes with Lu Yu that she triggered the evolution all by herself and asks if he takes cash or card. Without missing a beat, the buyer hands over her card to lock in the $1 million transaction right then and there. The holographic system pings Lu Yu that his first sale is a massive W, unlocking his taming space and gifting him the Dark Inferno talent. The notification also mentions he can use a soul link to boost the growth and potential of Dark-type buddies. Feeling the energy hit different, the MC hypes himself up, thrilled to finally have a talent again after being ghosted by his powers for so long. A flashback yanks him 12 years into the past, back to a super gloomy mansion. Tiny Lu Yu is on the floor, scared out of his mind, asking what his aunt is doing. The woman, married to the current family boss, coldly replies that her vibes are pretty obvious. She spills the tea that she only raised an orphan in the house to harvest his ultra-rare dragon-type talent. Keeping up the villain energy, the aunt asks if he seriously thought his parents just casually passed away in an accident. With zero chill, she grabs the kid's face to start the extraction process. The Karen reveals his talent is going to help her precious son unlock double powers, telling the kid he should feel honored to be the stepping stone. Lu Yu screams as his life essence is aggressively drained by the woman's dark magic. Tossed on the floor with his HP at 0, the kid can barely move after the cheap shot. Before dipping, the aunt drops a final roast. Without his talent, he can spend the rest of his days as a total NPC. Snapping back to the present, the MC admits he thought he was doomed to be stuck in the shop as a complete flop forever. But then he remembers that on his 18th birthday, he randomly awakened a mythic pet system. The holo screen shows that by selling pets like a boss, he can farm new powers, points, and exclusive loot. For a guy who is already running the register, clearing these daily quests is basically easy mode. Totally locked in, Lu Yu swears he's going to serve that family a double portion of karma for all the trauma they put him through. Across the room, Yue points a finger, warning the customer not to let this clown scam her. The MC glares at the ex and deadpans that his patience for her nonsense expired ages ago. The girl takes a step back, threatening to call the cops if he even thinks about trying something. Ignoring the bait, Lu Yu simply tells the trespasser to get off his property. Yue refuses to take the L and dares him to bring out another mutant monster for her to buy, totally doubting his inventory. The system chimes in with a reminder that he still needs one more sale this week, and missing the big reward would be a massive fail. Taking the hint, the MC agrees to entertain the girl strictly for system points and summons something. A massive, edgy aura floods the room, hyping up the arrival of what feels like a mutant emperor skeleton. But the hype train derails when the smoke clears to reveal a pint-sized, confused little skeleton just standing there. The blonde completely loses it, laughing her head off that he tried to scam her with a fun-sized piece of trash. Unfazed by the roast session, Lu Yu picks up the little guy by the skull and doubles down that it is, in fact, a mutant emperor. Yu Yue claps back that the thing is literally the lowest tier necromancer class possible, and has zero main character energy. Super confident in his merch, the MC flexes that the creature's actual talent is completely broken. He breaks it down. As long as this little skull kid keeps sending ops to the Shadow Realm, its potential will scale infinitely until it reaches God tier. Annoyed by his swagger, the blonde tells him to quit yapping, saying an infinitely scaling pet is straight cap. The customer jumps back in, pointing out that the blonde must have some serious issues to doubt the manager when the receipts are right there. Lu Yu tells his buyer not to sweat it, since not everyone has the brain cells to spot top-tier loot. Furious at being called clueless, Yu Yue grabs her phone, announcing she's calling a pro to expose these frauds. She dials up manager Yang from the rival shop, asking him to pull up and back her up. A little while later, a delivery truck rolls up right outside the shop. A manager Yang walks in holding a glass dome, while the customer is still fangirling over her new slime. The system runs a scan on the tiny slime, double-checking its cracked stats and that insane devour ability. Spotting her backup, Yu Yue waves him over like a total VIP. The new guy apologizes for lagging and shows off the fiery pet lizard she ordered earlier. The blonde rejects the delivery for now, demanding he take a good hard look at the glass jar on the counter. Striking a pose, she flexes her own fiery lizard just to throw shade at her ex's bargain bin inventory. Stuck in the jar, the tiny skeleton is just standing there, looking about as dangerous as a paperweight. Locked in on his job, Yang boots up his high-tech data monocle to run a deep scan on the weird little dude. The pro's tech analysis confirms the tiny skelly is indeed a necromancer class, packing the ultra-rare level up through combat talent. Totally ruining the blonde's moment, Yang asks if the little guy is for sale and swears he'll pay whatever it takes. Flabbergasted, Yu Yue demands to know why the pro would drop 3 million on a rank 1 trash mob. The manager tells her to trust the data, confirming the little guy has infinite scaling and is basically a future boss fight waiting to happen. The ex-girlfriend's jaw hits the floor, totally shook that the thing is actually a high-tier mutant. Catching the vibe, the customer tells the arrogant blonde to zip it, reminding her she literally warned her about the little guy's aura. Yang backs it up, saying his advanced monocle doesn't lie. He drops another bomb. The slime she just bought also has infinite scaling and will soon be soloing tamers of the same level. Desperate to secure the bag, the manager begs Lu Yu to sell the skeleton for the flat rate of 3 million. Sweating bullets, Yang realizes that price is a total steal and wonders if he's basically robbing the place. Keeping his cool, the MC thanks the guy for the vibe check and says he appreciates the hustle. At this point, Yu Yue totally crashes out, accusing the MC of gaslighting her and acting brand new just because he won't sell to her. Standing his ground, Lu Yu makes it clear he couldn't care less about her tantrum, while she demands another mutant monster on the spot. He coldly replies that his inventory is empty and it's going to stay that way for her. The blonde starts throwing hands verbally, calling him a talentless flop rejected by his family and wondering why he's acting so elite. Flexing a terrifying aura, Lu Yu casually drops that he already hit his second awakening. Feeling that massive pressure, Yang calculates that the kid must have awakened at least an S-rank talent. The MC figures his actual op stats would draw too much aggro, so he just rolls with the manager's guess. The news hits Yu Yue like a truck, and she literally drops to the floor, refusing to believe her ex got such a massive buff. Looking down at her, Lu Yu smooth talks that nothing is impossible in the beast-taming meta. Trying to salvage the disaster, the blonde softens her voice and tries to pull the Remember Our History card. She offers him a second chance to win her back now that he's got his powers back. With zero hesitation, he hits her with a hard pass and tells the trespasser to exit stage left immediately. Thoroughly humbled, the woman calls him a heartless jerk and promises villainarch revenge before storming out. With the toxic energy finally gone, the manager apologizes to the customers and announces they're closing up shop. The pink-haired girl whips out her phone, super hyped to get the MC's contact info. Right on cue, Yang practically shoves his phone in the air, begging to be added to the VIP list. Reading the room, the MC realizes the college freshman could be a goldmine for pulling in new customers. He also figures that even though the manager is a rival, a solid collab could be super profitable down the line. So internally, our guy is doing a victory dance, knowing he's totally safe from failing his daily system quests now. Super stoked with how the day played out, he flashes his QR code for the duo to scan. Right after that, the shop's metal shutters roll down, signaling it's officially game over for the workday. Breathing a sigh of relief to finally be solo, Lu Yu stretches while the system spams congratulations for clearing the noob quest. Wasting zero time, he tells his AI to boot up the virtual shop ASAP. Scrolling the hollow screen, our boy is weirded out by the trash inventory, but the AI explains these are just the free-to-play drops. Knowing free stuff is usually garbage, he skips the starter pack and tells the system to show him the premium gacha pulls. The AI swipes through a bunch of options, but the MC vetoes one monster because it's way too ugly and messes up his aesthetic. Digging deeper, the interface pulls up a new banner featuring some much edgier critters. The guide suggests a high DPS hellhound, but he hard passes, citing some childhood trauma of getting bit by a dog. Trying to match his vibe, the AI showcases 3 top-tier dark-type beasts. Knowing exactly what he wants to main, the guy says he's strictly in the market for a dragon. He burns 600 points to instantly unlock the terrifying World Destroyer Demon Dragon. An absolute unit of a winged monster pops up on the projection, leaving the kid shook when he reads that this absolute menace is still just a baby. The massive beast spawns right in the middle of the room, with the AI noting that the species just comes out of the box XL-sized. Hyped by the stats, Lu Yu is stoked to see his new pet's base potential is already sitting at Overlord rank level 10. The system breaks it down. A beast's potential basically hard caps how far they can level up. Pumping his fist, he remembers the top 3 players in the country use pets at this tier, and his starter is already right there with them. Hovering nearby, the Hola Waifu asks if the master is vibing with his choice. Totally locked in, the guy confirms he's beyond thrilled and decides to sign the contract right on the spot. A wild magic circle lights up the floor, linking the tamer and the giant dragon in a major soul bond. The AI pings that the contract was a massive success, and he can now buff the beast with his energy. Zero hesitation, Lu Yu reaches out and funnels pure dark energy straight into his new heavy hitter. The dragon gets coated in a crazy fiery aura, totally synergizing with the MC's special talent. The system hits him with the JG, celebrating that he boosted the beast straight to awakening tier level. A bit confused by the sudden level cap, the kid asks why his pet can't break through to the next stage. The guide explains his current tamer RAM is basically full and can't support anything past awakening tier yet, meaning he needs to grind more. To make life easier, the guy asks if there's a setting to shrink his oversized buddy down a bit. The second he thinks it, the huge dragon compresses into a fun-sized, pocket-friendly version. Meanwhile, back at the college dorms, the pink-haired customer bursts into her room, hyping up her roommate to check out her new pet. Panicking, the blue-haired girl begs her to stash the slime ASAP before a certain final boss sees it. Strutting down the stairs, an arrogant blonde announces it's already too late, and she's got eyes on the target. Channeling Major Hall Monitor energy, the blonde Chu Ying quotes the rulebook saying useless cosmetic pets are strictly banned in the dorms. Startled, the freshman trips over a girl reading on the floor and drops her slime, while her bestie jumps in to defend her. Annoyed by the lecture, Nyan bounces up and snaps back that her slime isn't just a skin, swearing she didn't break any rules. Trolling hard, Chu Ying asks if she seriously plans on maining a trash-tier slime. The blonde's sidekick chimes in, saying an A-tier talent user would have to be completely unhinged to make such a rookie mistake. Hugging her little blob, the pet owner proudly declares it's a mutant beast with a Devour and Grow kit. The rival shoots it down as pure copium, claiming those things hard cap at level 3 even if you sweat. Standing her ground, Lu Yu's customer drops the mic, revealing she already locked the contract and the slime is chilling at awakening level 9. Stressed out, the other roommate warns she's going to burn all her resources without ever hitting Transcendent class, hinting she got totally scammed. Ready to silence the haters, Nyan plops her blue buddy on the desk to run a live demo. Looking the blonde dead in the eye, she asks if the mats she dumped into her steel wolf cost over 2 million. Chu Ying summons her big scary dog privilege, bragging that her beast is already level 9. To prove her point, the slime tamer flexes a stash of floating crystals worth over $1 million. As soon as they touch, the little water balloon vacuums up the entire fortune in milliseconds. The blonde tries to mock the massive waste of loot, but her sidekick points out, absolutely shook, that the slime perfectly absorbed all of it. Next thing you know, the water bubble starts spinning like crazy, whipping up a massive mini tornado. The creature triggers a wild evolution, breaking the ceiling straight into awakening level 10. Flabbergasted by the flex, the blue-haired girl is left staring at the tiny blob's insane power scaling. Meanwhile, Chu Ying is literally frozen, buffering at the sight of that instant glow-up. Hyped on her partner's stats, Nyan says the show isn't over and tells them to keep watching. The slime glows like a flashbang, flooding the room with magic energy and flexing a starry sky tier potential. Deep in denial, the rival mutters that an NPC pet hitting that rank is mathematically impossible. Ego bruised, she challenges the slime owner to take it outside and settle this in a VPVP. Out in the courtyard, Chu Ying points dramatically, ordering her giant wolf to show that harmless bubble who's boss. The massive doggo flares up with an edgy red aura, getting ready to throw down. The beast charges full speed at the tiny slime, looking for a one-hit KO. But the blue blob just casts a massive water spira, literal transcendent tear moving, snipes the wolf right in the face. Chu Ying watches the explosion, absolutely devastated and completely unable to process the. Dropping to her knees, the wolf owner mutters in disbelief that her mane got clapped that easily. Looking down at her rival, Nyan hits her with the "I told you so," proving this was the mutant pet she was just trash-talking. Satisfied with the W, the winner decides not to push it, keeping the peace just because they have to share a room. Walking away with her bestie Nyan promises to drop the lore on the shop, where she copped the pet once they get back. The next morning, the chill commercial street is looking super peaceful under the sun. A redhead dude decides to pop into Lu Yu's shop, curious about the new spawn location in his area. Checking out the counter, the customer spots the sleeping baby dragon and figures it'd make a dope gift for his sister. Poking the little guy, he calls for the boss and asks how much for the winged lizard. Lu Yu politely hits him with a "not for sale, it's my main," but the guy pushes back, saying he's got unlimited funds. Standing firm, the MC repeats that his partner is absolutely off the market, period. Salty about getting rejected, the dude mutters that the shopkeeper is begging to get humbled. Instantly, he summons a black-feathered crow and commands it to aggro the owner. Watching the guy act like a total toddler, Lu Yu just calls him a clown. Sensing the bad vibes, the tiny dragon wakes up, flooding the room with a massive wave of dark energy. The edgy crow dive bombs for an attack, but gets slammed into the floor just by the sheer pressure of the dragon's existence. With the soul bond severed, the redhead takes massive recoil damage and stumbles backward. Clutching his chest, the customer realizes in pure terror that his pet got one shot by a literal stare. Freaking out over the heavy aura, the guy connects the dots and realizes that thing is a legendary demon dragon. Prioritizing his HP, he quickly figures that tactical retreat is his best option right now. Without looking back, the customer sprints for the exit like his life depends on it. Resting his chin on his hand, the MC watches the guy rage quit, kinda bored that the beef ended so fast. Meanwhile, across town, it's just another busy day at the city hospital. Walking the clinic halls, the redhead complains about blowing $5 million on med bills just because a dragon looked at him funny. Not paying attention, he bumps hard into someone and instantly starts trash-talking the guy. A plot twist, the insulted dude turns around looking ready to throw hands, asking who he just called a scrub. Shaking in his boots, Luo Zi realizes it's his big brother and stutters out a "what are you doing here?" Luo Tianyan crosses his arms, stating he came to find the troll who dared to disrespect their family name. Panicking, the younger brother waves his hands wildly, begging his bro not to aggro that specific tamer under any circumstances. Finding his brother pathetic, Tianyan arrogantly asks if there's a single boss in this city their family can't clear. Trying to de-escalate, Z explains the guy is casually rocking a demon dragon contract. The news hits like a nuke, leaving the older brother completely buffering at the reveal. Doing the math, the big bro notes it's been years since a tamer cracked enough to handle a beast like that spawned. Pivoting immediately, Tianyan orders his little bro to drop a pin and take him to this mystery boss right now. Terrified, the younger sibling warns that even his big bro's stats wouldn't make a dent against that monster. Annoyed by the lack of faith, the leader smacks his little bro's head and yells that he's only going there to drop an apology. Relieved, Z rubs his head, agreeing his brother is way too smart to throw like he did. On the way over, the heir explains that basically all the top tamers in town roll with the Lu family, and they wouldn't hide a pet this broken. He theorizes that to control such a beast, the shop owner must be secretly tied to that op bloodline. Pulling up to the shop, the younger brother points at the sign, confirming they've reached the final destination. Chilling at the door with a death glare, Lu Yu sarcastically asks if the sore loser brought his squad because he couldn't win the V. Zero hesitation, Tianyan scolds his brother and tells him to step up immediately. Showing total respect, the older brother forces his sibling to his knees to issue a public apology on behalf of the family. To sweeten the deal, he pulls a super fancy loot box out of his pocket. Explaining that his little bro was totally blind to the MC's power, Tianyan asks the tamer to accept the gift and let the beef slide. The boss opens the case, revealing a top-tier platinum space-daming crystal. The MC's eyes light up at seeing such insane upgrade material practically delivered via Uber Eats. On the inside, our boy is throwing a party, as he was just stressing over how to upgrade his tamer ram to buff his pets. Playing it cool, Lu Yu swipes the crystal and casually mentions he doesn't hold grudges over noob mistakes. Giving the rich guy a quick scan, the MC notes his aura and guesses he recently leveled up his realm, unlocking a new pet slot. Impressed by the read, Tianyan confirms he just broke into the fire-type starry sky tier a few days ago. Smelling a massive W, Lu Yu pitches a scarlet flame chicken he's got in the back, saying it's a perfect meta pick for his build. He points to a cage in the back, asking if the VIP wants to cop the bird for a cool 3 million. A tiny yellow chick stares at the guests from behind bars, chilling next to a price tag that looks like a total type. Even though it looks like a scam, the heir swallows his pride and agrees to buy it just because the veteran recommended it. Whispering furiously, Z asks his bro if they are seriously about to burn money on a literal nugget. Catching the vibes, the shop owner deadpans and asks if they think he's out here running a crypto scam. Tianyan waves his hands respectfully, swearing he'd never doubt him, but admits the chicken meta is confusing him. Dropping the serious face, the MC smiles, saying he only offered the exclusive drop because their apology was actually genuine. He drops the lore: this tiny red bird can eat any type of fire to infinitely boost its own stats. The client is floored, knowing pets with absorption scaling are basically ultra-rare shiny legends. Ready to back up his claims, Lu Yu tells the guy to run a live test right there in the shop. Down for the experiment, Tianyan holds out his hand and casts his high-tier blue cold flame to feed the little guy. The chicken doesn't even flinch at Tianyan's scary fire, leaving the younger brother completely glitched out. Super chill, the tiny bird just pecks the blue fire right through the cage bars. In one smooth move, the little guy slurps up the entire energy beam like it's a noodle. Instantly, a massive blue phoenix bursts out of the bird, blinding everyone with its insane boss aura. The client's eyes pop out of his head, realizing this isn't just a meme pet but a future fire emperor. Without a second thought, both brothers drop to the floor in reverence, swearing the Luo family will owe him one forever. Lu Yu just waves it off casually, saying it's just standard inventory and there's no need to simp. Taking the opening, Tianyan looks up and politely asks if the veteran is linked to the Lu family, most broken dragon tamers in the server. Just hearing the name makes the MC's friendly smile instantly drop into a hardcore death glitch. Fixing his posture, he coldly states he hit the delete button on that family a long time ago. Catching the frostbite, the client mentally notes that this mystery boss definitely has some major villain arc beef with the client. Right after, the rich duo respectfully dips, leaving the shop for good. Finally solo again, Lu Yu holds his shiny new crystal, hyped to finally click upgrade. He triggers the absorbed power and gets teleported straight to the core of his magical taming drive. The item's energy massively expands his storage, and the system announces he hit Transcendent Tier Level 1, leaving the kid hyped over such a cracked buff. Turning to his tiny dragon, Lu Yu announces it's finally his turn to hit the next level. The beast roars, getting totally engulfed by a massive, edgy red aura. The holo waifu pops up to confirm the pet broke into Transcendent Tier, unlocking skills purely meant for deleting other beasts. The dragon flexes its new chunky model, looking way scarier after downloading all that raw power. Proud of his boy, the MC promises they'll be feasting on real dragon meat soon enough. The camera pans to the quiet street outside the shop the very next morning. The vibe is super chill in front of the glass doors with the neon pet shop sign. Chilling in his gaming chair, Lu Yu holds his winged buddy and talks on the phone, asking if the slime is leveling up nicely. On the other end, Nyan happily reports her new main just hit, awakening level 10 with cracked potential. Giggling, the girl spills that manager Yang literally locked down his own shop just to speedrun grinding his little skeleton. Cut to a random farm up north, where a chicken is flapping for its life trying to avoid its tragic fate. The rival manager is slumped in a chair sweating buckets, while his skeleton drags the processed bird across the concrete. The farm crew watches in awe, joking that a high-tier transcendent guy pulling this kind of stunt has become the absolute menace of the poultry world. Catching his breath and adjusting his glasses, Yang announces he's officially retiring from the chicken farming meta today. A coworker instantly asks if he finally realized a pro gamer shouldn't be wasting his time on the tutorial zone. Holding a sharp cleaver with a pig in the background, Yang shakes his head, saying he's actually upgrading to heavier mobs. He flashes a shiny VIP pass, bragging he's unlocked the high-tier monster processing zones. He explains those spots are loaded with massive aggro beasts waiting to be cleared out, aka the ultimate XP farm. The tamer lets out a super villain laugh, doing the math that his skeleton is gonna hit galactic tier in no time with this strat. Getting a pic of this on his phone, Lu Yu thinks the manager's grinding method is borderline exploiting the game. He figures that using industrial-scale mob clearing to bypass the need for high-level bosses is actually a massive brain play. Leaning back in his chair, the guy realizes his old rival is gonna become a serious powerhouse in the district at this rate. A notification pops up. Yang messaged that he sent a new buyer looking for dark-type mains straight to his shop. The MC breaks into a huge grin, hyped because he was just wishing for some fresh traffic. Another ping drops, rich boy Luo Tianyan asking if he can bring his little sister to shop for a combat pet, which Lu Yu auto-accepts. A super confident in his upcoming sales, Lu Yu takes a sip of water and chills out. He pats his winged buddy, telling him to hold on to his horses, cause they'll have enough ram for another limit break super soon. A heavy footsteps stomp into the shop, totally killing the quiet vibe. The MC hops up ready to welcome the new player, glad to see the server getting busy. An arrogant dude with a ponytail swaggers in, drops that he's a manager for the elite Jiang clan, and rudely asks what kind of trash this dumpster fire has in stock, stressing that Yang sent him. Keeping his customer service face on, Lu Yu replies that he might not have the whole world, but he only sells absolute god-tier beasts. The suit gets mega triggered, thinking it's hilarious for a guy in a shoebox store to claim he has high-end drops. Instead of feeding the troll, the salesman just smirks and ignores the guy's toxic energy. Annoyed by the chill vibe, Jiang demands he spawn these so-called rare mobs right now to see if this isn't just a waste of time. Getting right to it, the shop owner channels his blue magic and pulls something straight from his inventory. He slaps a metal cage, holding a basic-looking tiny green goblin right on the counter with zero hype. The MC starts reading off the goblin's patch notes, pitching it as the ultimate sidekick. Completely losing it, the preppy guy screams at the cage, accusing the boss of trying to scam him with absolute garbage tier loot. He rages that he was actually gonna plug the kid to his family's VIPs, but now sees he's just a total flop. Throwing a massive tantrum, Jiang swears he's gonna use his clan connections to ban the shop from the server in 3 days. Tired of the screeching, Lu Yu narrows his eyes, totally ready to roast the guy into oblivion. But then the clicking of designer heels echoes in the doorway, pausing the PvP before it starts. The rich boss Tianyan struts down the aisle looking like $1,000,000, with his cute little sister in tow. Jiang practically short-circuits recognizing the VIPs from one of the city's most broken guilds walking into this tiny shop. Sweating bullets with eyes wide, the manager realizes this rundown joint must be secretly backed by the Luo clan's infinite wallet. Freaking out, Jiang remembers his own clan's businesses literally survive on Luo family investments, meaning he is massively cooked. He backs away quickly, while the rich siblings walk right past him like he's an invisible NPC. Dialing the respect to max, Tianyan bows like a true gentleman and greets the MC, calling him veteran. The pigtail girl blushes a little, surprised that the secret boss of this place is way younger and cuter than she imagined. Shrinking in the corner, the suit's jaw drops seeing the untouchable Master Luo treating a random cashier like a literal deity. Noticing the background noise, Tianyan shoots a death glare and tells the trash to mute his mic because nobody gave him permission to breathe. The sheer weight of the command forces the humiliated guy to his knees, knowing any misstep against the Luos is an instant game over. With the server peaceful again, the protective bro smiles and introduces his little sister Jingjing to the shop owner. Super chill, Lu Yu waves, welcoming his absolute favorite whales back to the shop. On the inside, though, he's crying over losing the goblin's commission, since he really needed those credits for his pet's upgrade this week. Seeing the shopkeeper staring intensely at the caged goblin, Tianyan wonders if the guy is tilted over a failed transaction with that idiot. To fix the issue in one click, the rich guy pulls out his black card and declares hell by the rejected merch right now if it's available. The little sister interrupts the impulsive buy, demanding to know why he's throwing money at an ugly mob without even checking its stats. Pumping his chest, the big bro swears hell blindly trust anything that drops from this veteran's inventory. Coughing to break the awkward simping, the MC puts his retail hat back on and starts a deep dive into the goblin's lore just because they actually asked. Continuing the deep dive, the MC explains the goblin scales its stats by breeding, guaranteeing crazy high-tier spawns. He promises that with this infinite loop glitch, they'll have a totally broken army in no time. The siblings are absolutely mind-blown, staring at the little green dude on the counter like it's a shiny legendary. Shook by the patch notes, the heir realizes he almost passed up on a literal god-tier beast. Zero hesitation, Tianyan bows, begging the veteran to sell the goblin to the Luo family. Justifying the panic buy, the rich guy points out that the big three clans are only op because they monopolize the giant dragon species. He calculates the goblin's spawn rate rivals dragons and sees his family rocketing to the #1 spot on the leaderboards. Cool as a cucumber, Lu Yu asks why it even matters who gets the little g. Jingjing jumps in, reminding her brother that a tamer needs to lock the contract ASAP, and asks if he's got a player in mind. She tries to picture a high-fashion girl walking around with that ugly critter and cringes at the lack of aesthetics. The older brother confirms he already knows the exact guy to main this new pet. He drops the lore that the chosen one is the former leader's illegitimate kid, whose mom was secretly sent to the Shadow Realm by the main wife. Since Tianyan is the one who revived this kid's career, he's 100% sure the guy will never switch teams. Hiding in the corner, manager Jiang goes into full panic mode, realizing he just eavesdropped on some heavy restricted lore. Shaking with terror, the suit calculates that the Luo leader dropping this info in front of him means he's about to be deleted. Catching the intruder in his peripheral, Tianyan hits him with a lethal side. Trying to dodge a ban, Manager Zhang throws his hands up, acting like his screen just went black. Sweating buckets, the guy covers his ears and starts yelling that he suddenly went deaf and blind, basically becoming a useless NPC. The Luo leader uses his scary boss voice, telling the guy to take today as a free tutorial. Flexing his terrifying aura, the heir threatens to personally humble the snitch if he hears even a single rumor on the server. Getting the message loud and clear, Zhang slaps a hand over his mouth, swearing he's permanently muted. Watching the clown show, Lu Yu finds it hilarious and notes the suit reacted fast enough to dodge a permanent ban. Taking advantage of the break, Jingjing tugs her brother's sleeve, asking what's left for her since the goblin is taken. Pouting hard, the girl stomps her foot, demanding a cracked combat pet for herself too. The rich guy pats her head, promising the veteran will roll a much better drop for her because the goblin is mid anyway. The girl's eyes light up when she realizes this place actually stocks even crazier loot. Hyped by the gacha odds, Jingjing locks all her attention on the shop owner. Putting on her best cute face, she asks if there's a beast perfectly tailored for her specific build. Dropping the temp in the room, she explains she runs an A-tier ice soul build and wants a carry just as busted as her brother's chicken. Without missing a beat, the MC accepts the quest instantly. Waving his hand to spawn the mob, the guy announces he's got the perfect match in his inventory. An aesthetically pleasing white ice fox materializes inside a super fancy cave. Fangirling over how cute it is, the girl asks if this little fox can also eat exotic ice to level up. Confirming her big brain guess, the seller says the pet is high IQ and can infinitely absorb elements to scale its stats. To prove he's not selling snake oil, the MC suggests she run a quick live demo. The girl channels her frosty magic into her fingertips and feeds the energy straight to the little fox. The second the magic hits, the creature devours the buff, adding a glowing blue aura to its white fur. Absolutely floored by the results, Jingjing swears she'd drop tens of millions on this fox without a second thought. Sticking to his honest pricing, Lu Yu drops the bomb that it's only a flat 3 million coins. Instantly, Tianyan bows in thanks, announcing he just wired 6 million to cover both drops. Thrilled with the back-to-back sales, the shopkeeper hits them with a polite thanks for playing. Suddenly, the tiny black dragon lets out a roar, completely pulling everyone's aggro. The whole squad turns toward the glass door, trying to figure out what random event just triggered outside. A massive gale starts blasting the front of the shop, tossing the potted plants everywhere. Feeling the heavy pressure, Lu Yu recognizes the signature aura of a giant dragon and notes the ops were really trying to stealth. Scanning the invisible threat, the MC figures the toxic Lu family finally decided to raid his base. The scene cuts to the massive, ultra-luxurious compound of the dragon-taming clan, shining in the morning sun. Chilling on the lawn, a giant red dragon is literally just AFK in the garden. Up on the balcony, a suited minion steps up to drop the latest patch notes for the boss lady. Sipping her tea like a villain, the Karen reminds him she's specifically ordered to keep a radar on her bastard nephew. She keeps yapping about how the main quest is to secure the hidden loot his parents stashed away back in the day. Slamming her teacup down, she demands to know why they still haven't found a single clue after all this time. The minion drops to his knees, reporting they just caught a major plot twist regarding the target. He spills the tea that Lu Yu got his powers back and officially locked a contract with a black dragon. The update makes the ant jump out of her chair, totally glitching over the news. Refusing to accept reality, she tries to figure out how the kid bypassed the system to tame beasts again after getting his core deleted. Radiating pure, toxic hater energy, the woman declares the nephew needs to be permanently logged out of life. Catching the drift, the lackey nods, confirming he understands the hit job perfectly. Back at the shop, the system holo screen pops up, tossing Lu Yu a GG for hitting the 5-pet sales milestone. The waifu AI materializes, super hyped to announce he just unlocked a random SSS rank talent drop. A glowing prompt flashes on screen, asking if the master wants to claim his god-tier loot right now. Shook to his core, the guy celebrates the insane RNG of getting a second game-breaking talent. Zero hesitation, he smashes the claim button on the floating screen. The AI cheers as he awakens the heavenly god-slaying flame, while edgy purple fire completely engulfs his character model. The shockwave of this sudden buff forces Tianyan to his knees, while the little sister gets jump-scared and drops the K. Sweating over the crushing pressure, the heir wonders if the shop owner just rolled a new fire-type ability. Doing the math, the rich guy realizes a basic S-rank talent could never emit such a suffocating boss aura. Wrapped in massive purple flames, the MC realizes just how absolutely busted this legendary drop is. Hiding his power level, the young man looks confused at the customers on the floor, asking why they're randomly kneeling. Still shaking from the jump scare, the protective bro admits his legs just gave out and he literally can't stand. Using the time as an excuse, Tianian scrambles to grab his pets and says they'll stop bothering the shopkeeper for today. Looking kinda bummed, Jingjing complains she wanted to chill with the manager just a bit longer. Killing the vibe instantly, the older brother drags her out, telling her to stop trolling and go home. Outside the shop, the crazy wind is still blasting the front of the empty street. Out of nowhere, a massive green flying dragon crash lands, ruining the asphalt, while its rider demands the shop owner step out and take the... With all this chaos at his front door, Lu Yu points out the invader skipped the easy route and speedruns straight into his own game over. The green dragon rider claps back, claiming that letting the kid live back then was an act of pure charity. Fueled by absolute rage, the MC reveals he only survived and grinded to become a tamer just so he could pull off his revenge arc. The memory yanks him back to a rainy night at the massive Lu family estate. A tiny Lu Yu is begging his uncle for a carry, crying that the clan leader is trying to steal his talent core. Showing zero empathy, the guy just lands a cheap shot that sends the kid flying. Treating his nephew like literal garbage, the abuser says getting his talent harvested for the young master is a massive privilege. Down on the floor, the kid cries, refusing to be part of this twisted transaction. Making it worse, Lu Heng steps on the kid's back, pinning him to the carpet like a wrestling move. The aunt watches from her comfy chair, coldly asking if she ever gave the kid permission to log off. Even at 1 HP, tiny Lu Yu fights back, swearing the power belongs to him and nobody has the right to steal his loot. The minion just steps harder on the kid's hand, telling him he has zero say in the patch notes. Sitting pretty, the woman orders the extraction to start right now and demands they keep it clean. The uncle agrees instantly, looking super happy to carry out the boss's toxic orders. Being completely evil, he puts maximum pressure on the kid's arm, dealing massive critical pain. Totally defeated on the ground, the kid cries as his stats are ruthlessly drained. Crushing the victim further, the man complains that all the crying is getting super annoying. The kid's agonizing screams echo through the dark mansion, closing out the worst night of his life. Snapping back to the present, Lu Heng strikes an elite pose, asking what's the point of the nephew re-rolling as a tamer. He points out the kid is aggroing the entire Lu family, and asks who he thinks he is to solo a guild that... Losing his patience, the invader thinks it's hilarious that a rejected flop is talking with so much main character energy. Matching the aggro, the tiny black dragon lets out a supercharged roar to defend its master. The attacker laughs at the scene, finding it insane that the family trash actually managed to pull a top-tier dragon breed. Eyeing the tiny beast, he assumes the pet was forced into PvP way before hitting its adult phase. High on copium, the uncle guarantees that fun-sized lizard would get one shot by his fearsome wind dragon. Without wasting time, the enemy raises his arm and commands his beast to initiate the raid. The massive green monster opens its jaws and fires a devastating wind blast straight at the shop. Lu Yu just stands there like a statue next to his partner, with absolutely zero sweat about the attack. The wind magic literally just fizzles out around the MC, failing epically to deal any damage. Drunk on his own stats, Lu Heng assumes the enemy pet is transcendent tier at best and keeps underestimating the duo. Suddenly, the tiny creature drops a massive AoE energy explosion, leaving the invader completely shook. A dark red fiery aura swallows the zone as the true, uncapped power of Lu Yu's main overflows. Keeping a terrifying tone, the MC coldly asks if that weak hit was really the best the op had to offer. Transforming into its original colossal model, the beast radiates pure oppression, and the shopkeeper notes the attacker seems to have accepted his fate. The absolute unit of a black dragon drops an ear-splitting roar that makes the whole map shake under its pressure. Sweating buckets, Lu Heng totally panics, failing to process what kind of glitch in the matrix just spawned in front of him. Trying to cope, he tells himself his dragon is already at Starry Sky tier, and losing this match is mathematically impossible. Overflowing with confidence, Lu Yu claps back that the green gecko isn't even enough to be a snack for his partner. Ready to end this speedrun, the kid holds out his hand and starts casting a high-level ult. With a flawless command, he drops the dragon domain, locking both monsters inside a pure power arena. The uncle is hit with maximum shock, refusing to believe a random kid managed to unlock such a broken skill. Freaking out, the invader realizes this exclusive ultimate is hard-locked to the legendary pureblood demon species. Flexing his superiority, the MC confirms the theory, saying it's a big RIP for the enemy because this is exactly that pureblood line. He drops the lore that his partner is the infamous World Destroyer, the one who literally farms giant races for XP. Giving zero room for counterplay, the massive dark beast fires a destructive laser beam straight at the green mob. The critical hit causes a deafening explosion, leaving the Lu family member completely stun-locked. The dark energy slams the wind monster, instantly breaking all its shields in a single frame. Taking catastrophic damage, the green dragon gets launched backward, letting out a painful screech. The massive beast crashes hard into the asphalt, completely wiped out and unable to continue the PvP. The weight of this massive plot twist makes Lu Hengd collapse on the sidewalk, muttering in pure denial. Utterly humbled and out of HP, the coward crawls on the ground trying to escape his nephew's scary aura. Right then the MC's shoe comes down hard, stomping directly on the loser's hand. Staring at the trash mob at his feet, the shop owner asks how it feels to get stepped on by the guy he called a scrub. Pressing down harder, the kid admits he's been waiting to pop off like this since the night he got robbed. Desperate to avoid a game over, the attacker cries for mercy, pulling the "I cared for you as a kid" card. Lu Yu just hits him with pure sarcasm, asking if all the abuse was his twisted version of babysitting. With zero sympathy, the young man grabs the guy by his hair, telling him to keep his eyes open for the main event. The dark beast hits the down monster with an ultimate finishing move to the neck, fully collecting the toll for the raid. Flexing its maxed out strength, the black dragon lifts the prey in the air like it weighs literally nothing. Closing out the match, the big guy drops a victory roar to celebrate, totally clutching the V. Watching his main get deleted, the man screams in despair, crying over his precious wind dragon. Completely broken on the ruined street, he bawls, admitting his guilt and begging on his knees not to get sent to the Shadow Realm. Acting totally unbothered, the MC hits back with sarcasm over the guy's sudden vibe change. With his eyes glowing a terrifying red, Lu Yu issues the final judgment, telling the op to take his apologies straight to the afterlife. The massive winged creature lunges at the defenseless man to execute the master's final command. The crushing weight of the claws wraps things up instantly, sending the coward packing for good and clearing the zone. Right after the match ends, the kid pats his partner who already shrunk back down, praising him for the flawless victory. The hollow system pops up glowing, bringing the waifu AI to say GG for taking down a veteran player. The AI opens the loot box panel and drops a super exclusive red star tier item. Checking the stats, the young man sees it's a demonic heart loaded with the ancient XP of a dark lord. The pop-up explains the item acts as a rare candy, boosting a dark pet's skill straight to max level. Floating around with good vibes, the waifu AI gets the tamer's attention to drop even more patch notes. She happily announces his points balance hit the exact threshold to unlock a brand new beast immediately. Processing the massive W, the MC repeats the info, super hyped for the chance to pull a second main. Lighting up his right hand with his newly awakened god-tier flames, he starts brainstorming what kind of creature would synergize perfectly with this busted talent. Hyped on the meta possibilities, Lu Yu decides to pull for this new beast without a second thought. He hits the claim button on the hollow screen to finalize the transaction. Instantly, a massive purple energy vortex spawns right in the middle of the empty street. A majestic bird bursts out of the portal, lighting up the zone with its magical aura. The MC watches in awe as the purple flame emperor bird lands, totally shook by the animal's overwhelming presence. Checking out his new partner, the guy comments that its aura is basically a jump scare. The stats confirm that this creature belongs to the absolutely insane Sacred Spirit tier level 1. He quickly does the math, remembering the country's op guardian dragon shares this exact same power tier. Across the whole server, there are only 6 of these sacred tier beasts running defense for humanity. Reaching out to lock the bond, the tamer guarantees that with the right grind, this bird is gonna casually outscale the national guardian. A huge magic circle wraps around them both as the contract successfully registers. Satisfied, the majestic winged beast lets out a cry to confirm the party invite. Then Lu Yu remembers basic logistics and tells the beast to shrink its hitbox for easier carrying. Morphed into a cute little fluffball on his shoulder, the bird proves this skin is way better for casual gameplay. Holding the epic loot he just won, the kid swears that with these 2 carries, his revenge quest against the Lu clan is almost at AA completion. Behind him, the massive black dragon lets out a sad whine, obviously salty about being sidelined. Finding the jealousy hilarious, the boss tells the big guy to stop acting like a total diva. To chill his partner out, the kid promises to buff his bloodline potential as soon as he clears the final pet sale for the week. The tiny purple bird drops a cute chirp, trying to vibe with the environment. Spreading pure joy, the little guy flutters around the tamer, who is totally loving the wholesome moment. Landing right in front of the giant dark beast's face, the bird tries to send a friend request. The little bird keeps chirping adorably, while the giant reptile just stares with max suspicion. But the absolute cuteness hits a critical strike on the terrifying monster's cold heart. Completely melting, the fearsome world destroyer shrinks down and wiggles its little hands, instantly becoming a simp for the new teammate. Watching this comedy sketch, the MC realizes that aesthetic privilege really can change a dragon's whole personality. Taking advantage of the peace, he reaches out and gifts the demonic heart to his OG partner. The kid explains that eating this consumable will spike the creature's XP and fast-track it to the sacred tier. Wasting no frames, the winged monster lunges forward to claim the loot. The dragon swallows the ultra-rare core in one gulp, proving it was starving for a buff. Suddenly, the creature starts shaking violently, holding its head as it gets hit with an overdose of dark energy. Panicking, the shopkeeper tells him to chill, warning that the item is packed with super toxic, chaotic vibes. Popping back to its XL size, the beast roars in pain, and the owner points out that speed eating causes massive lag. Trying to keep the run alive, the kid tells his pet not to panic because he's about to carry the stabilization process. Funneling all his mana, the MC activates a direct refinement using his flaming eyes. A strong blue aura coats the giant dragon in the middle of the street, as the tamer purifies the energy overload. After finishing the heavy lifting, Lu Yu sighs, a bit drained, and announces the creature can finally absorb the buff safely. Feeling the new stats hit, the massive beast drops an ear-splitting roar to flex its pure strength. Right away, the virtual UI pops up, bringing the holo waifu out to say GG to the host. With a sweet smile, the AI confirms the beast perfectly digested the heart and leveled up its kit. The stat screen shows the partner now rocks eyes that can delete divine souls and a body that tanks all physical damage. Back in its pocket-sized form, the little guy flies around flexing, demanding the purple bird bow to its new op status. Spilling good vibes everywhere, the little monster is totally hyped about hitting a new power spike. With starry eyes, the little dude begs his master for another round of that gourmet snack. Absolutely baffled by the audacity, the young man asks if the pet thinks legendary drops just spawn on trees. After the comedy break, the MC lets out a heavy sigh as he scopes out the zone. Staring at a massive crater on the ground, he clicks his tongue, annoyed by the messy aftermath of the PvP. Whipping out his phone, the guy calls for backup to help clean up a minor spill he caused while playing around out front. Looking at the wrecked street, he doubles down that it was just a tiny scuffle, and the guy on the line agrees to handle it. Not long after, the rich VIP Luo Tianyan rolls up with his squad to inspect the battleground. One of the NPCs swallows hard and yells in disbelief, wondering how this apocalyptic crater counts as a minor spill. Kneeling by the blast marks, the heir checks the damaged asphalt and deduces a wind dragon took a massive L here. With this intel, he connects the dots that the shop's veteran owner has serious beef with the Lu family, the only guild that mains those beasts. Even though he fought one of the most toxic clans, Tianyan is shook to see the match was a complete one-sided stomp. Trusting his crew's hustle, he delegates the cleanup duty to his minions, who jump on the task immediately. Thanks to the heavy lifting, the commercial street is reset to flawless, like nothing ever went down. The camera cuts to the insanely aesthetic and luxurious compound owned by the powerful Luo clan. The second the leader steps into the garden, a butler rushes up to warn him that the young miss is totally crashing out. Confirming the warning, Jingjing storms in screaming at the top of her lungs, asking if her big bro lost his actual mind. Pointing a finger in his face, the girl accuses the rich guy of draining the clan's treasury just to farm the breeding stats on that goblin. Crossing her arms in a rage, she argues that beast spawn rates are super low, making this investment a complete gamble. Staying super chill, the guy explains that this specific goblin has the broken ability to spawn an entire guild all by itself. He states with a serious look that when he officially takes over the server, this new race will be the Luo family's ultimate carry. Refusing to take the L, the little sister snaps back that he can't just ghost her ice foxes training for some green mob. Patting the girl's head, Tianyan promises he already allocated the top-tier materials to buff both their pets equally. Right then, a maid walks into the garden holding a super fancy loot box. When the case is handed over, Jingjing is basically vibrating with hype, begging to see what's inside. The girl is stunned by the massive pile of elemental crystals, praising her big bro's deep pockets and generosity. Drooling over the ultra-rare fire and ice drops, she jokes Shed totally respawn as his sister in every timeline. Shutting down her hype instantly, the rich guy tells her to handle the loot carefully because it's a gift for the shop's veteran. Completely triggered, the girl does a comic relief cry, complaining about being treated like an NPC courier and threatening to snitch to the shopkeeper. Back at the chill commercial street, the MC's shop is having a quiet start to the day. Pouting on the sidewalk, the girl shakes her head, low-key impressed by her brother's big brain strategies. Gripping the briefcase, she thinks about how insane it is to just hand over priceless legendary loot for free. A flashback hits where her brother handed her the quest, claiming his talent would be hard stuck forever without the tamer's help. Super confident, the Luo leader swore that with that scarlet bird, his stats would break the ceiling and hit the absolute top of the taming ladder. Pumped for the mission, Jingjing stops in front of the shop, figuring that staying on the owner's good side might help her reach Overlord rank 2. She pushes the door open, calling out for the veteran. Holding the designer box, she offers the ultra-rare extreme fire and ice crystals as a thank you from the Luo clan. Surprised by the drop, Lu Yu mentions her brother already carried him by cleaning up yesterday's mess, and he didn't even have time to say thanks. The little sister waves it off, promising it was zero hassle, since the upgraded pets he sold them boosted their own stats, which is worth way more than the rocks. Scanning the shiny loot, the MC is amazed that the system's pets actually pass on these insane buffs to their owners. Skipping the fake modesty, he decides not to reject free XP and takes the briefcase. Happy with the handoff, the girl says she won't hold up his grind and tells the guy to ping her if he needs anything. The shop owner then picks up one of the glowing elemental stones from the box. Chilling solo at the counter, the kid calculates that this scarlet fire crystal is the perfect consumable for his new emperor bird. To test the theory, he quickly spawns his tiny flying partner. With the bird chirping curiously, the guy holds out the shiny rock and tells his little buddy to take a bite. The moment it touches the magic, the tiny bird vacuums up the crystal's energy effortlessly. Watching the progress bar, Lu Yu is shook to see the creature instantly break its level cap right after swallowing the loot. A blast of purple energy floods the room as the bird drops a majestic cry during its sudden glow-up. The hollow system pops up with a GG, celebrating that the pet skipped multiple levels at once. The UI notes the animal just unlocked a red star tier skill, massively buffing the AoE and DPS of its flames. Staring at his partner's XL form, Lu Yu realizes that premium gacha pets are on a totally different level than the freebies. The scene cuts to the massive campus of the Magic City Beast Taming University. In a packed lecture hall, the professor is preaching that the meta only respects one rule: absolute power. Flexing total confidence, the instructor asks which student actually believes in their own stats. Holding a pointer, she asks for a volunteer to jump in the arena for a live combat tutorial. Instantly, a bunch of guys throw their hands up, desperate for her attention, flexing their gold tier skills and pet levels. Keeping the edgy vibe going, the woman adds that volunteering means entering a real, no-holds-barred beast PvP. Across the room, the blue-haired girl is sweating bullets next to Nyan. Panicking, the girl realizes she just got randomly selected for the raid. Walking down the auditorium stairs, a guy in a vest smirks with max arrogance, assuming this is an auto. In the crowd, students whisper that the chosen girl is Du Royan, a campus idol whose build is strictly pure support. They also note her opponent is Yan Xiaopeng, famous for maining a werewolf with absolutely cracked burst DPS. Shaking in her seat, the blue-haired girl hears the class saying support mains just get farmed with zero counterplay. Seeing her bestie having a meltdown, Nyan giggles and says the server loves a good show, telling her to think of a clutch strat. Full of energy, the pink-haired customer offers to sub in for the PvP in exchange for some sweet compliments. Without hesitating, Royan hugs her friend, begging the hardest carry in the dorm for a rescue. With her ego boosted, Nyan jumps up, promising that clearing this stage will be a breeze. Watching the swap, the guys in the class start simping over the pink-haired girl, calling her a literal goddess. Walking down to the arena, she tells the professor her friend isn't built for Vs and asks to take the slot. Keeping it chill, the instructor greenlights the sub without making it weird. Turning to the challenger, the teacher asks if he's cool with the new matchup, and the dude says whatever. Cracking his knuckles like a try-hard, Xiaopeng declares he's catching the W no matter who steps up. To kick off the duel, Nyan channels her mana and spawns her tiny blue slime on the stage. The crowd completely loses it, loudly asking if their goddess is seriously gonna try to clutch with a trash mob. Confused by the pick, the professor asks if the student is sure about locking in that mascot, getting a super confident nod. Catching an attitude, the opponent warns that pet HP hits 0 for real in this arena. Frowning, the preppy boy makes it crystal clear he won't be paying for any revives when his beast wrecks her water balloon. Annoyed by the toxic trash talk, the guys in the stands start roasting the dude, even though they know the might makes right rule applies here. In the back of the class, one guy tells everyone to stop sleeping on the girl's pet. Confident in the outcome, Royan crosses her arms and says they're all about to see what that slime can do, totally ignoring species tier lists. Down in the arena, Nyan stares down the op, saying she's about to give a free masterclass on why you never underestimate other people's builds. Treating her speech like a meme, Xiaopeng laughs and says they're done chatting. Going straight to the action, he raises his arm and auto-summons his terrifying Mad Blade werewolf. The beastly mob spawns with a deafening howl, flexing a super aggressive aura. On the other side, the tiny slime just does some cute bounces, completely ignoring the boss music. The arena gets hyped as both tamers radiate pure confidence that their mains will secure the back. Holding a massive jagged sword, the dog monster winds up for the first strike. Leaving a trail of edgy red energy, the beast dashes full speed at the tiny blue bubble. Showing absolutely zero sweat, Nyan keeps a smug smile like she's already won the match. The slime pops a defensive water shield, which Xiaopeng trolls for being a basic gold-tier move. Suddenly, a massive tidal wave erupts from the ground, forming a heavy barrier that totally stonewalls the werewolf. Ignoring the magic wall, the op yells that fighting his transcendent tier beast is a fast track back to the lobby. Using raw DPS, the monster launches a destructive red energy slash aimed right at the water barrier. Midair, the canine beast howls wildly, trying to dodge the icy chains spawning all around it. Watching from the stands, a fanboy casually notes the slime's kit is absolutely cracked. A second later, the werewolf gets completely locked down by thick ribbons of magical water. Misreading the UI, Xiaopeng smirks, assuming this weak CC won't stun his pet for long. But a student in the crowd squints, wondering if his game is glitching because the enemy monster is taking massive tick damage. The overwhelming water pressure crushes the werewolf, dealing insane internal damage that makes it scream in midair. With its HP totally drained, the big guy gets slammed hard into the arena floor, whimpering as it takes the L. The shock hits Xiaopeng like a truck, turning him pale as he fails to comprehend how his carry just got swept. Flexing her floating pet, Nyan sarcastically asks if the preppy boy finally learned his lesson. Sweating bullets and shaking, the loser mutters in denial over the absolute embarrassment of getting clapped by a slime. The weight of the L makes the kid collapse to his knees, totally shattered by the match results. Asserting ultimate dominance, the pet owner announces to the room that the taming meta has infinite potential. Looking fondly at her blue buddy, she secretly promises that one day the little guy will be able to solo a giant dragon. This massive flex makes the entire class jump out of their seats in a mix of shock and pure hype. All losing their minds over the upset, the guys scream, begging Nyan to drop the tutorial on what cheat codes she used to train that thing. With the W in the bag, Royan runs excitedly toward her bestie in the middle of the arena. She gives Nyan a huge hug, celebrating that she knew the RNG would be in their favor. Keeping the swagger on max, the slime's owner casually replies that the match was basically the tutorial level. Meanwhile, the defeated Xiaopeng drops to his knees next to his werewolf, begging the beast to respawn. Seeing the guy's pathetic state, the support main walks over and offers a free heal for his knocked-out pet. Completely humbled, the preppy kid scratches his head and mumbles a thanks for the carry. At that moment, Nyan crosses her arms, letting him know her friend's healer build is usually pay to win, so he hit the jackpot. Being a total sweetheart, Royan calms the guy down, saying it's all good since they're in the same guild. Without wasting time, she summons her moonlight butterfly and casts a holy light buff. The tiny magical creature sprinkles some shiny dust that restores the dog monster's HP bar instantly. Absolutely shook by the fast regen, Xiaopeng realizes that's a solid gold tier skill. Inspecting the talent up close, the professor gets curious, wondering if the pet really has base stats that high. She tries to process the lore, remembering that the rare lunar species was supposed to be completely vaulted. To clear up the confusion, the student explains the bug actually evolved from a basic green cotton insect. The realization hits the instructor like a brick, deducing that only a top server specialist could force a patch update like that. Super interested in the lore, the woman asks the butterfly's owner to drop by her office after class. Back in the lecture, the professor sits down and preaches that the taming skill tree is infinite, pointing to the crazy upsets they just witnessed. Paying max attention, the blue-haired student totally agrees with the veteran's take. The instructor keeps dropping facts, stating that op results rely purely on a flawless breeding strat. She decides to share some deep lore about a past civilization that basically maxed out the taming meta. Surprised by the story, Nyan leans in, asking if a server like that actually existed in Can. The master reveals that this society had a creator class, capable of buffing even the weakest trash mob into a giant dragon. The two friends' jaws drop, thinking that upgrading a useless bug into a dragon sounds like a broken exploit. Keeping it professional, the professor invites the duo to check out the history lectures if they want the full wiki pay. Right after she sighs, saying the class required insane RNG talent and got completely lost to time. Connecting the dots, Royan starts suspecting that the pet shop manager might be one of those legendary creators. Hearing the student mumble, the woman raises an eyebrow at the mention of a manager and asks what she's talking about. Spilling all the tea, the girl says both of their op pets came from a spot called the Mythic Pet Shop. The instructor instantly guesses the mystery dev works there and decides she needs to raid the place ASAP. A bit later, a luxury whip parks on the quiet commercial street right in front of Lu Yu's base. The elegant woman steps out of the car in heels, ready to investigate this mystery boss in person. The flashy neon sign confirms she arrived at the exact coordinates the students dropped. Taking off her shades like a movie star, the professor checks out the storefront, thinking it looks pretty low budget. Inside, Lu Yu is hyping up his new bird's fast leveling, joking that it's about to outstat his little dragon. The chill vibe is ruined when the new customer walks in looking for the server admin. Sensing a stranger's aggro, the Emperor Bird's AI triggers, releasing a completely suffocating. The pressure hits the instructor with a hard stun, leaving the woman terrified and literally unable to input any commands. Acting fast, the shopkeeper pacifies his pet and apologizes, saying the bird hasn't learned how to toggle off its new passive yet. Completely shook by the explanation, the professor can barely believe that insane pressure was just an unoptimized skill. Rebooting her composure, she officially introduces herself as Lu Luoqian, one of the instructors from the local university. With a friendly smile, the woman guesses the kid in front of her has to be the famous manager Lu. The MC notes her students are always hyping her up, though he personally doesn't think she looks like a final boss. Skipping the small talk, Luoqian goes straight for the dialogue prompt, asking point-blank if the guy is a creator. A bit caught off guard by the ancient class name, the shopkeeper repeats it, trying to figure out where this questline is going. Confident in his own stats, Lu Yu smirks and replies he can be whatever class she wants him to be. Checking the creation module on his UI, the kid decides that claiming this mystery title sounds like a top-tier marketing strat. Failing to read the cryptic response, the customer gets totally confused, trying to decrypt his dial. She crosses her arms, slightly pouting, accepting that a random NPC wouldn't just hand over main quest lore that easily. Pivoting back to business, the guy notices she still has an empty pet slot and pitches his inventory. Internally, the salesman flashes a greedy grin, celebrating the chance to secure another massive bag today. Switching to full professional mode, he holds out a hand and asks the woman to drop the specs for her ideal carry. Luoqian reveals her build focuses on dragon wings, so she's specifically hunting for a beast from that exact bloodline to min-max her DPS. Just hearing that race makes the MC's expression drop, and he seriously asks if she has any ties to the toxic Lu clan. Hit by a bad memory, the instructor looks away, hesitating to answer the direct question. The trauma yanks her back to her origin story, where an older guy screams that her A-tier talent is a total joke to the main family. The abuser keeps the roast going, calling the little girl a trash-tier flop who doesn't deserve to hang with the elite taming guilds. Snapping back to reality, the woman gets defensive, arguing her backstory shouldn't affect her ability to buy loot. Reading the awkward room, Lu Yu scratches his head and sighs that the drama of these VIP players always ruins the vibe. Being straight up, he tells her he's completely out of stock for anything with a dragon bloodline right now. But then, the salesman smoothly grabs a tiny glass jar from the counter and swears he's got a genuine dragon inside. Completely refusing to buy it, the professor points out the big three clans vaulted all the dragons, telling him to stop capping. To prove he's not a fraud, the kid summons his massive dark partner, claiming the fancy family pets aren't even good enough for XP fodder. A shock hits the woman like a truck as she identifies the ultra-rare demonic race, a beast whose stats rival actual gods. Putting the mascot away, the tamer refocuses on the glass jar, ready to pitch his merch. Striking a pose, he holds up the jar while the customer tries to calculate how a giant lizard could even clip into such a tiny hitbox. The light hits the jar, revealing a totally basic red fish just swimming in a loop. The letdown makes Luoqian absolutely lose it, screaming at the manager if he expects her to eat this fish for dinner. Visibly tilted by the troll, she demands to know if he clicked the wrong inventory slot on purpose just to test her patience. Sweating over the incoming ban, Lu Yu shakes the glass and swears he pulled the exact right item. Pointing at the drop, the instructor complains it's literally just a common carp you'd buy at the spawn zone for pennies. Putting on his best mystery NPC voice, the MC asks if the professor knows the old lore about the fish that leaped the celestial gate. The reference triggers her memory of the golden myth, where any water mob evolves into a supreme dragon after passing that specific port. Pleased with her answer, the salesman praises the client's high INT stat, saying he expects nothing less from an academic. Snapping back to logic, Luoqian argues that's just fake lore, since the gate got deleted from the server thousands of years ago. Ignoring her logic, the shopkeeper shows off the glowing magic fish and reveals this tiny mob can actually spawn the legendary portal all by itself. The professor thinks this whole celestial portal story is total cap and refuses to buy into it. Super chill, Lu Yu says the shop doesn't force transactions and tells her to check another vendor, but the woman instantly tells him to hold up. With that, the MC drops the glass jar with the carp right into the customer's hands so she can run her own diagnostics. The second the woman locks the contract, a magic ping confirms the water mob actually has the passive to spawn the portal and absorb dragon bloodlines. Reading the stats on her own UI, Luoqian is totally shook and admits the leak was real. Super hyped about the find, the instructor can barely hide her shock at pulling a beast with such busted potential. A bit embarrassed for calling him a scammer earlier, she apologizes to the manager, admitting she rushed her review. Suddenly, a button on the woman's outfit snaps because of the magic surge, making things super awkward in the middle of the shop. Looking away at the speed of light with a red face, the shopkeeper tries to save the run by swearing he didn't see a single pixel. Keeping her cool, the professor asks if the guy could do her one more solid. The client explains she has backup skins in the car and asks the tamer to go fetch them. Zero hesitation, Lu Yu sprints out to complete the fetch quest as fast as humanly possible. On the way, the kid imagines the nightmare of getting cancelled by the local news for creeping on a famous university VIP. Relieved, he mutters to himself that it was a big brain move to dip fast, otherwise the client might have reported him for griefing. Reaching the car parked outside, the kid pops the trunk and finally spots the loot bag with the clothes. Clutching the quest item, the shopkeeper sprints back to base using his max movement speed. A little later, the MC is chilling in his gaming chair, sipping water while waiting for the buyer to equip her new gear. Luoqian steps out with her updated cosmetic and thanks the manager for the hard carry. Being the polite NPC, Lu Yu says it was no biggie and asks if she has a build path in mind for the tiny carp. Thinking it over, the instructor reveals her 3 previous mains were metal, water, and wind types. Running the numbers, the guy suggests rolling a totally new element to max out the newly acquired pet's stats. Vibing with the strat, the client spawns some ultra-rare lightning crystals, ready to test the pet. With high hopes, she tosses the premium loot straight into the tank where the fish is AFK. The carp vacuums up the electric energy instantly and starts glowing, throwing massive sparks everywhere. A colossal magical structure renders in the room, proving to everyone that the celestial portal lore is canon. Catching the insane ancient dragon energy leaking from the portal, Lu Yu's dark partner drops a hyped-up roar. Annoyed by the sudden sound alert, the MC raises a hand and tells the pet to mute its mic instantly. Glancing at his winged buddy, the kid tries to decode the aggro, wondering if the code glitched during the process. Totally locked in on her own pet, Luoqian tells the shopkeeper everything is fine and he should just enjoy the cutscene. The room fills with electric lightning as the duo watches the tiny carp swim straight for the divine structure. The magic stabilizes, flooding the entire zone with a jaw-dropping aura. The vendor announces that the second the water mob clips through the obstacle, its evolution is guaranteed. Hyped for her new main, the professor cheers the carp on to hit the big jump and trigger the transformation. Sweating hard, the tiny fish leaps from its tank, floating inside a magical water bubble. The creature swims up bravely, tanking the heavy CC pressure generated by the divine gate. An intense glow highlights the carp as it inches closer to the ancient structure. But violent electric currents zap the tiny bubble, throwing massive lag on the pet's progress. Stressed about the run, the owner panics, asking why it's frozen and terrified the evolution might fail. Lu Yu explains the portal was spawned by the fish's own passive, meaning the master has to step in and boost it past its limit. Shook by the raw power the client is flexing, the MC mentally admits he totally nerfed her stats in his head. Getting the tutorial hint, Luoqian channels all her mana, declaring her partner is definitely gonna clear this jump. She throws her hands out and casts a massive wave of energy to buff the fish. The carp absorbs the extra MP, getting a fresh speed boost to tank the electric storm. Burning the last of her stamina, the woman screams for the pet to cross the portal once and for all. With a flawless animation, the water mob clips through the divine barrier in a blinding flashbang of light. The fish's model stretches into a crazy new form, confirming the jump was an absolute double. At that moment, the instructor feels an insane energy wrap around her character, and realizes her own talent is leveling up too. The shopkeeper points out that's the perk of the contract buffing. The divine beast auto-levels the tamer's base stats. Glitching out over the sheer amount of power in her veins, the woman can barely process the buff. Massive dragon wings spawn on Luoqian's back, revealing the true level cap of her awakened bloodline. Floating above them, the newly evolved beast roars, debuting its new skin as a scarlet electric flood dragon. The UI confirms the monster hit Transcendent tier on day 1, proving it's an absolute unit. Reviewing the patch notes, the professor admits the pet is undoubtedly broken, but notes it doesn't belong to the classic giant dragon class. Sticking to his no-scam policy, the vendor agrees it's a flood dragon and reminds her he never promised a different drop. He drops a quick lore tutorial explaining the dragon race has different skill trees, like the lizard types and the snake types. To hype the buyer up, the kid promises that if the beast hits Overlord rank, its code will upgrade into a true dragon bloodline. Flashing a charming smile, Lu Yu announces the carp plus the evolution room fee comes out to a totally fair 5 million. The woman wires the credits instantly and turns around, saying she needs to dip before the manager realizes he undercharged her. When she logs off, the MC chills out and calls over his dark partner, who is camping in stealth to watch the event. The tiny winged mascot drops an excited roar, and the boss asks if watching the celestial jump made him want to level up too. Sucking up the leftover aura, the beast downloads a deep understanding of the ancient dragon data left behind by the portal. The dark partner's eyes glow super bright as he drops a roar packed with fresh DPS. The system hollow screen pops up to confirm the World Destroyer Demon, Dragon's epic promotion to the Starry Sky tier. Super proud of the sudden buff, the MC smiles and gives his partner a massive GG for the performance. A night falls over the server, lighting up a high-end mansion owned by one of the university's top admins. Drained from the sweaty day, Luoqian crashes on the couch, thinking that rolling a pure bloodline in that budget shop felt like a literal dream. A knock on the door interrupts her AFK moment, making the professor wonder who's dropping by this late in the game. Opening the door, she gets jump-scared by an old guy with glasses and asks what the veteran is doing at her base. The guest flashes a friendly NPC smile, asking if he accidentally ruined her AFK time. She quickly waves it off and invites her superior inside without making it awkward. Once in the lobby, the master makes small talk, asking how her day one tutorial went. Hyped about the noobs, the professor says the vibes were immaculate, and she already spotted 2 smurfs who need to be fast-tracked. The old man is intrigued, noting that getting a compliment from her means these kids must have some serious hacker-level stats. She explains the 2 freshmen rolled pets with the growth trait, meaning their level caps are basically non-existent. This drops a bomb on the old man, who repeats the info, totally amazed that such cracked RNG actually exists. The guest notes that any player with that kind of build could easily become a server admin or the literal backbone of the country's defense later on. Keeping it AA, Luoqian spills that she also bought a pet from that exact same vendor, explaining it was just a carp that speedrun its evolution to sovereign potential. The news hits the veteran master with a massive stun, leaving him completely shook. Desperate to check the receipts, he frantically asks the woman to spawn the mob right now so he can review the model. Obeying instantly, the professor summons her brand new electric flood dragon. The massive beast clips into the living room, radiating a heavily op and fiery aura. Hypnotized by the graphics, the master confirms the species and admits he never thought she'd pull this off, since those dragons got vaulted ages ago. Putting the pieces together, he asks if all these broken pets dropped from the same spawn point, and the woman nods yes. Luoqian guesses the cheap pricing means the manager doesn't care about the in-game economy, suspecting he's running a master plot to buff the whole server with prodigy tamers. The veteran's jaw is on the floor, barely processing that a hub like this is actually canon. Riding the lore wave, the instructor asks her teacher if he thinks an SSS rank player could actually spawn in their current patch. Putting on a serious face, the old man replies that there's 0 players with that kind of power level on the leaderboards right now. But he brings up the ancient wiki lore that the past taming civilization got server-wiped by an entity of that exact rank. Sweating the implications, the master concludes that if a prodigy of that tier spawns, it's a coin toss whether it's a massive buff for the server or a total apocalypse. Reading the heavy vibes, the woman hesitates, wondering if she should leak the truth about the manager's terrifying pressure. Fearing a bad end, Luoqian warns that treating the manager as an op would trigger a chain of events that would literally delete their accounts. As a safe strat, she suggests the master send trusted low-level players to buy pets from the mystery shop. The professor promises this move won't just farm faction rep, but also work as a stealthy recon mission. Totally on board with the big brain play, the old man accepts the advice and decides to launch the operation. The next morning, the commercial street wakes up super quiet outside the MC's pet shop. Inside, Lu Yu gets a system ping announcing he unlocked the achievement for securing his first personal base of operations. Checking his phone, the guy cheers that this quest is basically a freebie, since his current coin stash is way more than enough to buy the property. Skipping the wait, he calls Boss Jiang, dropping a 17 million flat offer to buy the building outright. On the other end, the chubby landlord rejects the trade, saying it's a lowball and tells the tenant to wait for an IRL meetup to negotiate. The tamer argues he already checked the Zillow stats, stating the neighboring spots go for 15 million max, making his offer a massive overpay. Assuming the kid is desperate for the base, Jiang figures he can totally extort him for way more loot. Acting like a total troll, the landlord tells the kid to mute his mic and wait for him to hanging up, Lu Yu pockets his phone, super annoyed by the guy's infinite greed setting. Right then, the shop door opens and 2 dripped-out guys stroll casually into the zone. Scanning the low-res environment, one of the guys questions the aesthetic, asking his buddy why the shop their grandpa hyped up looks like a dumpster fire. Coping hard, the white-haired dude argues that true final bosses always hide in total NPC-looking zones. Spotting the new players checking out the shelves, the MC walks up and asks if they need a tutorial. The blonde kid politely replies they're here to pull some pets, and asks the NPC to summon the shop manager. Flashing a friendly smile, the vendor drops that he is, in fact, the boss of this instance. The duo is shocked by the guy's low age stat, commenting he looks like a college kid grinding a side quest. Being super real, the freshman admits that even though they're the university director's grandkids, their awakened talents are basically meme tier. Keeping his customer service face, Lu Yu asks the boys to drop their stat sheets. AA1 reveals he rolled a B-tier accelerated growth, while his buddy flexes a B-tier shredding destruction, which buffs pet attack damage. Running the numbers, the shopkeeper realizes they're hard trolling themselves, because these passives are literally the absolute meta for swarm-type builds. Agreeing with the vendor, the blonde confirms he's read the lore about swarm beasts soloing entire raids. Hyped, his duo adds he'd love to main a creature strictly built for explosive burst DPS. But the guy sighs, complaining that they've never found any drops in the market that fit those specific skill trees. To patch the issue instantly, the MC grabs 2 tiny glass jars and slams them on the counter with a heavy thud. Pitching the loot, he invites the new buyers to take a close look at the available inventory. Staring hard at the glass dome, the blonde gets completely confused by the pixels he's seeing. Looking at the empty table, the duo asks where the legendary swarm-building pets are at. The 2 jars look like they have absolutely zero content rendering inside them. Cool as ever, the vendor points at the jars and tells them to zoom in a little more. Still glitching, the 2 friends lean in close to deeply investigate the drop. The jump scare hits when they realize the manager is trying to sell them 2 literal ants. Massively disappointed by the offer, the blonde notes these bugs look like trash-tier spawns and asks what their hidden passive is. Putting his cards on the table, Lu Yu states these ants unlocked an ultra-rare infinite scaling talent called Motor. He breaks it down. As long as they follow the correct skill tree, these tiny mobs can morph into literally any build the tamers want. To secure the bag, the manager announces he's already mapped out the optimal build paths and invites the clients to check the guide. The tamer holds out his hands and airdrops the holographic data straight to the 2 students on the spot. Reading the wiki, the duo is mind-blown to discover the ants can evolve into god-tier species capable of spawning sovereign-rank armies. The white-haired kid cheers loudly, seeing his bug has the potential to break the skybox with terrifying DPS. Extremely hyped with the op loot, the boys bow thanking the manager for the massive carry. Watching the guys celebrate, the MC thinks that ensuring these tiny pets hit max level is the best possible outcome for his rep. With a galaxy brain look, the kid predicts that the guilds these pets will eventually form are gonna break the server. The chill vibe of the shop gets rudely interrupted by the obnoxious ringtone of the manager's phone. Grabbing his device quickly, the guy answers to see which NPC is trying to hail him. Standing on the sidewalk, Boss Jiang barks that he's arrived and demands the tenant spawn outside to greet him immediately. Ignoring the boomer's demands, Lu Yu tells him to walk his own avatar inside because he's busy running the counter. The rejection makes the landlord rage, threatening to cancel the base transfer if the kid doesn't roll out the red carpet. Standing his ground, the shopkeeper repeats his command for the guy to walk in, making it clear he won't repeat the dialogue. Triggered by the disrespect, Jiang rants on the mic, asking if the tamer thinks he didn't run a background check. The boomer decides to throw hands, calling the kid a talentless scrub who failed the tutorial exams and has no right to act so arrogant. Tired of the toxic voice chat, the shop owner hangs up and decides to step outside to delete the problem. Backed up by his 2 new VIPs, Lu Yu steps out the door to face the landlord and close the transaction. Overflowing with greed, the guy crosses his arms and declares the fixed price is now 30 million, with 0 discounts. Hearing the scam, the blonde kid loses his cool and flames the landlord, reminding him this dumpster doesn't even pull 15 million on the market. Flexing max arrogance, Jiang tilts his head back, claiming he owns the map so he makes the rules. Right after, the suit tells the kids to log off if their wallets are too light. Disgusted by the toxicity, the other student steps up, demanding to know who gave this NPC the courage to disrespect Master Lu like that. Taking the front line, the young client tells the manager to let them handle the aggro. He swears there's 0 need for the boss to dirty his hands with low-level mobs. Lu Yu casually agrees to the assist, but asks them politely not to grief the neighbors. Outside the shop, the kid pings the high-level bodyguard who rolled up with them. Thinking he's got the stat advantage, Jiang warns that calling backup is useless since he's a trained fighter completely delusional. The landlord claims no one in this zone can out-DPS him. Instantly, the massive bodyguard clamps a hand on the guy's shoulder, totally jump-scaring the extortionist. Ignoring the suit's panic, The guard asks his young master how they should dispose of this toxic player. With zero mercy, the kid orders a hard ban so the guy never forgets what happened here today. Acknowledging the command immediately, the bodyguard confirms the hit will be flawless. Panicking, Jiang struggles to break free, screaming if they even know which high-level clan is backing his account. Treating the threat like a meme, the other grandson laughs. He mocks the coward, asking if he's ever checked the leaderboards for the untouchable Duan family. The shock hits the landlord like a critical strike as he realizes the magnitude of his fail. Terrified, he realizes he just aggroed the devs who basically control the weather on the server. Flexing his VIP status, the client notes the guy finally processed who he's messing with. With the side quest complete, the student tells the guard to drag the trash out of render distance so they don't cause any lag. Getting dragged by his collar, the suit cries, begging for a revive and admitting his massive skill issue. Shifting focus back to the MC, the kid offers to auto-complete all the boring paperwork for the base purchase. Super chill. The manager accepts the carry, dumping the fetch quest on them. A little while later, the MC gets a push notification and checks his screen. The text confirms that, after a very friendly chat, the old owner transferred the property deed for 0 coins. Right away, the hollow system pops up glowing, hyping the kid up for securing his first permanent base. To reward the massive achievement, a colossal blue gem packed with energy spawns in midair. The AI breaks down that this is the highest tier drop on the server. The crystal can merge with his magic dimension and render a whole new sandbox world. Mind blown by the loot, Lu Yu calculates that owning a server like this basically upgrades him to dev status. Speedrunning the process, the waifu AI asks if she should run the expansion script, getting a quick yes from the master. An insane amount of bandwidth is used as the overpowered magic core boots up. The whole skybox turns into a massive glowing wireframe, leaving the shop owner stunned by the rendering process. T-posing in joy, the kid feels an overwhelming wave of mana filling every pixel of his new domain. Soon after, an Ultra HD aesthetic landscape generates from scratch, dropping a perfectly balanced and peaceful biome. Right in the middle of this safe zone, the MC's giant dragon drops a massive roar, enjoying the high frame rate. Leeching off the area's passive region, the colossal beast speed levels, breaking straight into Tier 3 of the Starry Sky rank. Tagging along, the majestic dark bird also farms the free XP, hitting level 2 of the exact same rank. The virtual guide pops up to confirm the level ups. She notes the giant tank unlocked domain projection, while the bird unlocked a sacred tier ultimate. The UI breaks down the big guy's new skill. It drops the weight of a whole dimension on ops to crush them instantly. A hyped Lu Yu can't believe this broken move is only considered low tier, imagining the absolute hacks his partner will unlock later. Next, the window drops the Emperor Bird's patch notes, showing it can now spam an infinite AoE of destructive fire. Happy with the loadout, the tamer notes the fire attack's DPS is basically equal to the banned spells from the old lore. Back at the counter, the two pets are emoting hard, super proud of their new stats. But the chill vibe breaks when the MC detects a scary high-level presence and wonders which boss just walked in. A mystery NPC holding a cane appears at the door, walking with slow, heavy steps. Flexing a massive aura, the newcomer introduces himself as Duan Xiangyu and tips his hat to the manager. Quickly unsummoning his bird, Lu Yu recognizes the famous university director and asks what triggered this event. Reading the room, the kid assumes the guy is definitely a friendly NPC, since he sent his own grandkids to buy cash shop items here. Still, the boss keeps his guard up, trying to decrypt the hidden quest behind this random encounter. Staring deep into the shopkeeper's eyes, the old man gets a jump scare from the terrifying pressure hidden behind the kid's gaze. To the director, the kid's polite NPC act totally conflicts with the boss-level aura he's trying to mask. Based on this read, Xiangyu is sure he's looking at an absolute smurf, and decides he needs to recruit him for the National Guild. Trying to skip the dialogue tree, the veteran says he's here for serious business, trolling a bit. The MC asks if he also wants to adopt a starter pet. The old man shakes his head, rejecting the offer. He complains that decades of frontline PvP totally corrupted his magic save file. Visibly confused, the manager tilts his head and asks who spread the fake news that a corrupted file blocks you from pairing new devices. Defending his claim, the war hero states it's basic science taught in the literal tutorial manuals. Seeing the kid isn't bluffing, the old man feels his hopium refill and desperately asks if there's a patch for his bug. Dripping with confidence, the MC guarantees that fixing corrupted taming RAM is the easiest side quest on the menu. Zero hesitation, Lu Yu channels his MP and spawns a floating magic jar right into his right hand. Keeping the mystery alive, the vendor holds up the box, telling the client to run and inspect on the item. Getting close, the director stutters in disbelief, feeling the massive HP regen radiating from the mystery loot. AA locked inside the glass is a glowing little seed, which the manager pitches as a basic protector tree sapling. But the kid reveals this miracle plant rolled the passive to record data, meaning it can follow whatever evolution tree the user wants. To shut down any doubts, the specialist projects a massive hologuide showing the exact optimal build customized for the veteran. Pointing at the green UI, Lu Yu lists the upgrade stages that lead straight to the final boss form, the void-suppressing tree. The ultimate perk is the guarantee that the god-tier roots will defrag and stabilize the director's corrupted hard drive. Listening to the patch notes, Xiangyu is stunned by the promise that his permanent debuff could be wiped out like it was nothing. Going against all logic, the old man closes his eyes and respectfully declines the loot, saying he doesn't need the carry anymore. Standing by his pacifist run, the veteran doubles down that he has zero plans to main another beast for the rest of his playthrough. Absolutely baffled, Lu Yu tries to process why anyone would trash the only item that could reset their HP and let them PvP again. Tilted by the rejection, the vendor rants that he already burned points rendering that flawless skill tree just for the client to dodge the queue. Ignoring the rage, the old man drops the lore that over the years, he sent his 9 mains on suicide missions into high-level danger zones. Drowning in guilt and debuffs, Xiangyu states it be pure toxicity to force another pet to tank that kind of damage. Just wanting a W for the server, the master suggests a seed with that much potential should go to buff the noobs of the new generation. Trying to stay chill, the manager thinks he would have kicked any other time waster out of the lobby, but feels he shouldn't grief a national hero. The heavy lore triggers a flashback to the massive server crash decades ago, when dimensional rifts spawned nightmare mobs on the map. Having the lowest DPS in the region, the country took catastrophic hits from the enemy raids, forcing tamers into a constant retreat. With their win rate near zero, the brave players planted their flag in a toxic zone, setting up the main defense raid. But the tactical map proved the firewalls fell way too fast against the brute force hacks of the alien mobs. To prevent a total server wipe, anyone who could control a mob logged into the frontline as the ultimate meat shield. As the highest-ranking raid leader at the time, young Xiangyu tanked the aggro, guiding the squad straight into the crossfire. It was during this brutal campaign that his beloved sovereign-tier mains sacrificed their HP bars to save the server's future. The PTSD of the constant wipes plus the frontline pressure caused permanent hardware damage, shattering the brave leader's talent forever. It's not that the master can't roll new pets, but that no mob could survive spawning into a completely corrupted save file. He remembers that even his last surviving partner had to camp at the university, and hasn't loaded into his zone for decades. Faced with an NPC with this much backstory, the MC feels he can't just leave the guy stuck in his debuff. Showing some empathy, Lu Yu tells the director not to take the blame, since the server lag on the front lines was too high and there was no other strat. The veteran sighs, admitting the raid zone was a guaranteed wipe, and he only kept his account because of pure RNG. But he gets super depressed that the usernames of all the players who sacrificed themselves got wiped from the chat logs a long time ago. Alright then, the shopkeeper grabs the mystery seed and declares that all this regret boils down to one simple skill issue. Confused by the kid's trash talk, the director instantly asks what the issue is. Flashing a smug grin, the kid drops a truth bomb. The problem is the old man just didn't have enough base stats. He follows up, saying if the veteran had enough DPS to make the ops rage quit, the server would never have needed a sacrifice play. The war hero drops his head, checking his own stats, remembering he hit his level cap ages ago and has zero chance of leveling up again. Keeping the hype going, the tamer asks if the old man knew that maining the giant void tree makes breaking level caps literally effortless. The hologram displays the massive plant, while the kid explains it hacks spatial code to passively expand the taming drive. Shook by the exploit, the old man hears that once his save file is restored, he'll finally have the stats to carry everyone he cares about. Recognizing the kid's massive brain, Xiangyu admits his boomer logic blinded him to the actual. Completely sold, the director decides to buy the glowing seed and tells the manager to drop the price tag. Sticking to his standard microtransaction fee, the MC says the drop is only 3 million coins. Right after the payment clears, the Holowaifu spawns with fireworks to say GG for hitting the 10 pet sales milestone. The UI reveals the achievement reward is a max-level ultimate talent called Divine Source of Life. Super hyped, the AI breaks down that this broken ability provides absolute healing and wipes all debuffs instantly. Back at the counter, the veteran says he's gonna follow the guide and evolve the seed before locking in the contract. Wasting no time, the boomer slaps the glass jar on the table and preps the crafting sequence. He hovers his hand over the tiny plant and clicks Evolve immediately. A massive burst of green magic explodes from the seed, flooding the zone with insane HP regen. The cutscene transitions into the director's taming space, showing a toxic wasteland full of fire and floating chunks of missing textures. The two players watch the glowing seed slowly drop into the middle of the corrupted dimension. The second it hits the broken floor, the sprout drops a massive magical shockwave. A huge, high-raise roots spawn instantly, grappling onto the floating assets to pull the map together. In a few frames, a colossal tree renders fully flexing sovereign-level stats that completely patch the void. A totally mind-blown Xiangyu stares at the giant plant and cheers that the evolution was a flawless W. Taking the opening, the war hero casts his magic circle and signs the permanent contract with the tree. The buff from the pact flows through the glowing branches, syncing the plant's code with the veteran's avatar. The giant tree broadcasts a massive healing aura, patching up every single bug in the broken dimension. Like a literal dev command, the deep roots pull the terrain blocks together, resetting the map to AA health. Emotional, the old man sheds a tear of joy, realizing his taming drive has been completely restored from the backup. Happy with the run, Liu Yu drops a GG to the boomer and says it's time to log out of the instance. Before the kid can teleport out, the director raises a hand, urgently telling him to hold up a sec. Pausing his walk animation, the MC turns his head and politely asks if there's a side quest he missed. Getting right to it, Xiangyu asks if the shopkeeper wants to join his university guild. The kid is shook by the irony, since he failed the noob exams a few months ago and is now getting a VIP invite from the head admin. Being blunt, he respects the guild but hard declines the invite. The shop owner smirks, explaining his startup is already printing money and going back to the tutorial would totally ruin his grind set. The old man chuckles and clears the miscommunication, saying the invite isn't to be a noob but to take a slot as a head professor. He adds that the professor tag requires too much server bureaucracy, suggesting the kid start as a tutor for now. The shock hits the tamer hard, remembering only sovereign tier sweats have the stats to equip a title that high. Desperate to add the kid to the roster, the director wonders if he should abuse his admin perms and offer the vice director slot if he rejects again. The veteran even considers deleting his own account to pass his admin chair to the young smurf. Running the numbers, Liu Yu rubs his chin, admitting the loot sounds good, but he knows the aggro that comes with that much clout. Flashing a greedy grin, the MC realizes equipping the university tag would give him massive rep, skyrocketing his shop's sales. Not wanting to throw a golden opportunity, he accepts the slot, setting a hard boundary that the lectures can't block his shop's operating hours. Happy with the trade, the old man accepts the terms without throwing any error codes. Acting super helpful, Xiangyu mentions the official title lets the kid farm $1 million research grants straight from the server admins. The thought of filling his inventory with billions of state-funded coins has the kid mentally drooling. He's already running the spreadsheets for the salary, bonuses, and passive income, picturing a mountain of premium currency hitting his account monthly. Even better, the shopkeeper cheers at the chance to raid the guild's massive wiki library and farm loot in their locked instances. Staring at the skyline, he laughs at the crazy RNG that turned him into an elite dev after failing the basic entry exam. The camera pans to the massive facade of the university under the night skybox. Leaning on the railing, Luoqian checks the view, wondering how her master's meetup with the shop manager went down. Suddenly, the instructor's eyes go wide when she spots a massive flashbang going off nearby. She instantly recognizes that the crazy glow in the courtyard is the classic animation of a beast leveling up. Down in the garden, the white-haired kid finds his buddy glowing on the ground and asks what kind of exploit he's trying to pull. The student points at the glowing bug, explaining he's about to merge his core stats with the tiny ant queen. Looking absolutely try-hard, he claims this risky fusion is going to break their XP multipliers. Worried, his duo warns that this locks him out of pairing any other pets, and if the ant gets deleted, his account gets permanently nerfed. Standing his ground, the kid snaps back he couldn't care less about losing his tamer tag if his main doesn't survive the endgame. Camping in stealth, the professor watches the cutscene, impressed by the guts of a player who always seemed like a casual. Proud of the kid's aggro, she smiles, praising his genetics for living up to his grandpa's war hero stats. Alright then, the old director walks up with max energy, swearing his HP is back to thanks to the shopkeeper. The instructor scans the massive, restored aura coming from the master and is shook to see the corrupted save file is completely fixed. Giggling, Xiangyu confirms it and challenges the woman to guess what cheat code the mystery kid used to pull off the patch. Using logic, the professor points a finger and guesses the vendor pulled a legendary healing consumable from his vault. The old man shoots down the theory, hyped to reveal the miracle patch came from a simple tree contract. A flashback plays showing the giant holy tree debugging the entire dimension with its massive roots. The war hero explains the void tree repaired his drive, giving him the hopium to grind back to his peak rank. Waving his hand confidently, the director tells her to drop the worry, since his playtime just got extended by hundreds of years. Relieved by the patch notes, Luoqian celebrates her old master's insane comeback. Using the opening, the director drops the leak that he invited the shop manager to take a tutor slot at the university, meaning they're in the same guild now. The professor is super shook by the random plot twist and excitedly asks if that's actually canon. Hyped about the new patch, the veteran's two grandkids demand to be put in the shopkeeper's squad as soon as he drops his first tutorial. Far away from the noise, Lu Yu is AFK meditating in his private dimension, surrounded by his three massive carries. The MC checks his skill tree and realizes that burning ultimate talents just to feed his pets is a massive waste of mana. As a workaround, the kid considers copying the classic tamers and merging the magic buffs directly into his compatible mobs. He stares at his wing tank and plans to fuse the Dark Inferno buff with the monster to turn it into the ultimate edgelord boss. Next, the kid looks at the purple bird and calculates that slapping the heavenly fire on her will give her the DPS to one-shot literal gods. But the shopkeeper hits a wall when he notices his third talent doesn't have a matching mob yet. Because of this, he decides it's time to pull a new gacha pet. The hollow UI boots up instantly, and the tamer does a victory dance seeing his balance is sitting at a massive 1,200 points. High on digital wealth, the guy is sure that budget can pull a main even more broken than his current roster. To min-max the build, he filters the search for a plant-type mob. His logic is that the species synergizes flawlessly with his life magic and will help optimize his server space. Following the prompt, the waifu AI spawns a list of all the grass-type monsters he can afford with that exact coin stash. Projecting the premium banner, the guide highlights the stats of the massive Elven Mother tree, explaining it hits Sacred Spirit tier at max level and acts as a literal spawner for the whole race. While reading the giant trees wiki, Lu Yu learns the divine plant can render a whole clan from scratch if given the right mats. But the kid trashes the idea instantly, remembering that race is basically dead in the current meta, making it a zero ROI investment. Scrolling to the next slide, the tamer checks out the majestic Sacred Star tree, but sighs that its ability to reboot whole planets is completely useless for his current run. The search then pulls up the edgy giant war tree, a chaos-fed mob that spawns terrifying aggro units out of pure destruction. Cringed out by the toxic aesthetic, the MC crosses his arms and declares a dark build like that totally clashes with his honorable good guy playthrough. Right after, the shopkeeper's eyes lock onto the ancient tree of life, whose code perfectly matches his busted healing ultimate. Hypnotized by the lore text, the young man realizes that wherever this mob drops its roots, the game over screen is cancelled and the zone overflows with infinite HP regen. Sure this is the flawless pick to combo with his ultimate. The owner clicks the claim button on the hologram without a second thought. Instantly, a blinding light wraps around the UI as the system validates the transaction, completely wiping the kid's 1,200 point balance. Spawning in midair, a tiny green seed pulses with a crazy magic glow, proving to the master that even at level 1, the pet carries a totally busted life aura. Holding the floating drop and feeling pretty good about it, Lu Yu tells the AI to pull up all the hidden stats and patch notes for his new loot. The hollow screen projects the data, confirming the botanical pet is only at awakening level 1, but already has a terrifying potential to hit the Sacred Spirit tier. Reading the fine print on its exclusive skills, the tamer is shook to realize the plant can spawn completely loyal troops, literally building a whole army from scratch. On top of that crazy ability, the system reveals a red star tier magic that can speed up the growth of any plant in a matter of seconds, leaving the kid totally floored by how OP it is. Thinking about the market value of this god tier tech, the seller flashes a greedy smile, calculating he can speedrun farming rare magic fruits and make tens of millions on the market with zero sweat. Hyped about the new pet's versatility, Lu Yu rubs his hands together, realizing this power lets him perfectly cultivate ultra-rare and pricey spirit fruits, making the whole situation an absolute massive W. Right after, he locks in on the second displayed talent, which casts a massive and super handy healing domain that can patch up any damage within its AoE. Checking the third skill, the shopkeeper notices the tree can project its own phantom outside the taming space, meaning all the main body's DPS follows the magic. As for the final tech on the list, the kid scratches his head, admitting star-slaying grass sounds edgy and intimidating as hell, but he has zero clue what its actual in-game effects are. Curious about the mystery lore, the tamer reads the tab closely and discovers that given enough time, this basic grass growing next to the tree has the busted ability to slice through literal divine planets. Totally mind blown by the absolute unit of a kit, the young guy admits a pet bought with that many points is just straight up broken. Chuckling, the MC celebrates that his partner spawns with 4 ridiculous talents, completely dominating the DPS, support, and resource farming metas. Ready to lock in this god-tier drop, he holds out his hand and casts his magic circle, demanding the contract be finalized once and for all. With a blinding, intense emerald flashbang, the deep soul bond is forged, flooding the empty room with vital sparks. Suddenly, the tiny seed speed grows in the blink of an eye, towering as a colossal, majestic tree of life right in the center of the taming space. The shockwave of the pact hits Lu Yu like a truck, making the kid grab his chest as his entire avatar pulses with a massive magic overload. Sweating a bit from the sudden pressure, the tamer can barely believe he's about to break the level cap again, considering he just hit the starry sky tier. While the boss absorbs the massive stat buff flooding his system, a soft, delicate voice calls him master. From a green vortex spawned between the ancient branches, the shopkeeper is shocked to see the tree generated what looks like a humanoid avatar. Stepping out of the magic light like a main character, a beautiful, delicate silver-haired elf floats in front of the kid, totally enchanting him. Looking at the creature, Lu Yu wonders if this girl is the actual physical skin of his new ancient tree of life. The system UI confirms it's a spirit clone of the plant, rocking all the original abilities and the freedom to roam outside the taming zone. Curious, the MC reaches out and asks straight up if she is the literal physical form of the divine tree. Super hyped, the elf confirms it, saying she's exactly the legendary boss he just summoned. Putting a hand over her chest respectfully, she tells the master he can just call her Enru from now on. The kid repeats the name out loud, saving his new partner's username to his brain while giving her a friendly look. Then Enru drops a weird side quest request, asking the MC to hold out one of his fingers. The second their fingertips touch, a delicate green line of energy links them, making Lu Yu wonder if they just triggered a secret contract. The elf explains she's downloading a fragment of his aura so that, if her boss ever gets 0 HP'd in the future, she can auto-revive him. Shook by the leak, the MC asks if she can actually cast Resurrect, but the girl clarifies she wouldn't be able to restore his 3 supreme taming talents. Looking worried, Enru adds that if he goes through this respawn process, he'll most likely load back into the server as a totally basic human NPC with 0 powers. Thinking it over, Lu Yu decides he'd rather reject the revive if it means sacrificing his 3 god-tier perks, because playing as a useless NPC just isn't his vibe. But he quickly softens up and happily accepts the feature, figuring it still acts as an epic extra layer of armor for his daily playthrough. The tamer advises his partner to get a feel for her current stats and promises to bring her a bunch of rare spirit fruit seeds tomorrow so she can start farming. Super happy with her first quest, Enru nods right away and accepts her master's order with max joy. Ready to log off for the day, Lu Yu waves kindly and announces he's dipping from the taming space. Suddenly, the tiny elf reaches out and tightly grabs the hem of the kid's jacket before he can teleport out. Acting a bit shy, Enru asks if she can leave her main body AFK in the taming space while her clone stays glued to his side in the real world. The MC agrees instantly with a chill tone, reminding her that since she's merged with the dimension, she has admin perms to enter and exit whenever she wants. Thrilled with the green light, the girl celebrates, but shyly mentions her daily routine might be a little weird and she was worried he'd hit her with a ban. The kid gets totally confused by that cryptic dialogue and wonders what she meant by weird daily routine. Fast forward to nightfall, the young guy is seen sleeping peacefully in his bed under warm blankets, until a tiny rustling noise breaks the room's AFK silence. Yanking the blanket back in a panic, the shopkeeper gets a massive jump scare, catching the tiny elf chilling right next to him in his bed. Staring at his partner under the covers, the kid finally decrypts what she meant by her weird daily routine. Looking super sad, Enru confesses she spent tens of millions of years completely solo as a seed, dealing with massive loneliness for way too long. The girl pulls the ultimate puppy dog eyes, begging her boss not to kick her out of the bed, promising to behave and stay in her own corner. Touched by the elf's sad backstory, Lu Yu goes soft and swears he'd never be that toxic, promising her solo Q days are over for good. Over the moon with the wholesome response, Enru snuggles up and hugs the kid's arm affectionately so she can finally sleep in peace. The next morning's sun starts peeking over the horizon, lighting up the huge residential complex where the MC's base is located. Inside, the guy wakes up totally CC'd and barely breathing, realizing the elf slept literally glued to his avatar, making even basic respiration a boss fight. The morning starts chaotic as Lu Yu yanks the covers off, totally drained and complaining he can't tank this kind of aggro anymore. Super annoyed, the kid sits up and picks up Tiny and Yu by her clothes, while the girl wakes up buffering, trying to figure out what's going on. Not wasting a frame, the tamer walks across the room carrying the elf, who innocently asks what the master is planning to do. He just casually yeets his partner onto the couch, leaving the girl stumbling after the surprise drop. The young man loses his chill, reminding her she promised to stay AFK, but tossed around so much during the night she almost 0 HP'd him. Sad about the scolding, Yu lowers her head and apologizes, saying she hugged him way too hard without noticing. Right after, the elf flashes a super cute smile and begs the master not to be mad, swearing she won't throw like that again. With that, Yu sighs, chilling out and promising he's not triggered, suggesting they hit the magic dimension to check on the tree's XP bar. The little one celebrates the idea, doing happy jumps, which leaves the guy a bit overwhelmed by her massive morning energy. Scratching his head, the shop owner wonders to himself if he actually signed a contract with a plant pet, or if he accidentally adopted a kid. Once inside the taming space, the environment shows off the majestic ancient trees surrounded by glowing foliage. The MC scans the area, blown away to see his partner already spawned 10 stalks of star-slaying grass, and power-leveled all of them to transcendent tier level 10. Running the numbers on that potential, he figures that if the main tree levels up, this grass will automatically scale with her. It becomes crystal clear that anyone who calls the Tree of Life harmless is playing themselves, because this basic grass packs a terrifying DPS. Looking at the magic plants, Yu is sure that even his terrifying black dragon and emperor bird would dodge a PvP with them. Nearby, some sketchy purple vines covered in thorns start aggressively expanding across the ground. The edgy vegetation spreads super fast, looking extremely dangerous and tanky. Satisfied with the visuals, the tamer recognizes the plant as the famous thousand-star vine, legendary for its op crowd control. Walking next to him, and Yu explains that at her current level cap she can only farm platinum tier seeds, and anything higher would take massive grind time. The master pats her head to chill her out, stating that platinum, diamond, or even higher tier seeds can be bought easily with coins. Flexing a greedy grin, the kid asks himself why he'd drain his elf's MP when he can just pay to win his way out of any problem. Taking the cue, he invites his partner to touch grass outside and solve the seed issue once and for all. Soon after, the duo is seen strolling together through a super crowded commercial hub in the city. Checking the insane prices on his hollow UI, the young guy marvels that the magic capital really stocks every kind of premium loot. Because of the massive player count in the zone, Yu warns the tiny elf to stay glued to him so she doesn't accidentally clip out of bounds and get lost. The duo decides to walk into a high-end luxury shop famous for strictly selling spirit plants. Scanning the million-dollar displays, the MC notices raw seeds are dirt cheap, while fully grown saplings cost tens of millions. Analyzing the market meta, he deduces the massive price gap is because farming these things is basically a nightmare with a super low survival RNG. But the kid breaks into a hyped smile, remembering his divine tree's broken skills totally delete any risk of crop failure. Totally locked in, he walks up to the counter and asks the NPC for a bundle of 1,000 seeds covering various rare dark and fire species. To top off the whale order, Yu demands another 100 seeds of the famous Hell Tree and Purgatory Tree. The shop owner, a chubby guy in a suit, flashes a retail smile and politely asks the client to hold on a sec. After crunching the numbers, the boss says the total comes out to a bit over 32 million, but he'll round it down to make the transaction smoother. Aware of his new VIP status, Yu asks if it's true that tutors from the local magic university get a solid discount here. The chubby guy confirms it instantly, telling the client to just flash his ID card so the system can apply the promo code. Zero hesitation, the MC hands over his university ID to the shopkeeper. The boss takes the badge and gets ready to run the verification through the terminal. The UI scans the card in a flash, validating the kid's identity and applying an insane 50% discount to the card. Totally shook by the massive perk, the seller figures the kid standing there must be a tenured professor to get a buff that huge at such a low age level. Bursting with pride, and Yu grabs the kid's arm and agrees with the guy, swearing her master is literally the most op player in the server. Keeping his elite swagger, the tamer just holds up his card and tells the man to process the payment already. While waiting, the young guy is amazed by how fast Director Duan patched his new admin perms into the state database. Suddenly, the tiny elf tugs the partner's clothes, whispering super excitedly that her radar just pinged an ultra-rare amethyst tier spirit seed nearby. The random alert totally grabs the MC's attention, making him lean in, curious about the loot. Leading the way, and Yu points to the back of the shop, marking the exact coordinates of the hidden treasure. Rummaging through the forgotten shelves, the elf grabs some totally dried up seeds and cheers for finally locating the drop. She runs back to the counter, hyped, and asks the boss straight up how much for that handful of seeds. The chubby guy looks at the girl's hands a bit confused and asks if she's sure she wants them, since he was literally about to delete them from inventory. Never dropping her contagious smile, the tiny partner confirms she wants to cop the loot no matter what. Being straight up, the seller explains that even though they belong to the ultra-rare amethyst tier deep space fruit tree, the HP of these 3 items has been fully drained, turning them into empty shells with zero meta use for normal farming. Since the items have no market value anymore, the boss throws his hands up and decides to just drop the loot to the girl for free. The generous move makes Enro jump for joy, thanking him massively for the epic giveaway. Walking back to base, the MC praises his partner for the insane RNG of pulling diamond tier potential loot without spending a single coin. The duo returns to the chill vibe of the guy's exclusive taming space to start the farming grind on the dirt field. Full of energy, Lu Yu yeets all the purchased seeds at once, announcing the next phase is to plant them all. The second they touch the magic dirt, the seeds speed grow at a broken rate, boosted by his partner's supreme botanical passive. Admiring the lush garden that rendered instantly, the kid notes with satisfaction that he'll soon harvest all the spirit fruits thanks to the ancestral tree's divine hacks. With this passive income locked in, he breathes a sigh of relief, knowing he'll never have to stress over buying expensive mats to feed his black dragon and majestic fire bird again. Back at the counter of his IRL shop, the young guy is snapped out of his thoughts by someone knocking at the door. Surprised by the random ping, Lu Yu turns toward the entrance, wondering if a new player finally spawned in his shop. A skinny kid wearing glasses walks down the aisle, bragging that he finally awakened his beast-taming talent. Flexing serious determination, the client swears that if he spots a mob he likes here, he wouldn't hesitate to liquidate his own house to buy it. Hyped at the chance to secure a solid bag, the manager walks toward the guest, welcoming him to the zone. The noob scans the employee's low age and asks, Loki suspicious if he's actually the server admin. Keeping his customer service face, the MC confirms his ID and politely asks what kind of build the buyer is going for. The glasses kid explains he rolled a C-tier talent focused on spirit art and is specifically hunting for a plant or life-type mob. With the perfect counterpick ready, Lu Yu promises he has exactly what he needs, magically spawning a glass jar out of thin air. A bit shocked by the instant load time, the buyer steps closer, doubting the shop actually stocks something that specific. Resting on the manager's palm, the small dome shows a basic little green sapling just chilling at the bottom of the glass. Spotting the merch, the client's face drops instantly and he starts screaming, completely triggered by what he just saw. He points a furious finger, accusing the shopkeeper of trying to scam him with a basic willow weed you could farm in any backyard. Unbothered by the rage-quit energy, the seller ignores the tantrum and explains the little plant awakened a rare scaling passive called blood refinement. Hyping the drop, the young tamer details that the beast can absorb genes from different mobs, allowing it to min-max the most flawless evolution tree possible. The lore drop changes the client's vibe instantly. He crosses his arms, intrigued by discovering a scaling talent he's never seen in the patch notes before. Not wasting frames on a tutorial, Lu Yu just says he isn't going to spoon-feed the client and tells him to log off if he isn't buying the sapling. Furious at the shopkeeper's toxic attitude, the glasses kid screams that charging $3 million for that is a blatant scam and threatens to report the shop to the Tamers Association. Reacting to the aggro, the massive dark dragon spawns with a terrifying roar right behind its master. The shockwave of its pressure makes the client backpedal in panic, though he tries to mask his fear by claiming threats won't work. Failing to hold his ground, the skinny kid sprints out the glass door, swearing the manager is going to get permabanned. The winged beast chills out and Lu Yu drops a disappointed sigh, noting that noobs really have zero clue how to spot legendary loot. Holding the glowing little jar with the willow sapling, the MC admits he's worried the plant is going to rot in his inventory. He remembers the system set a super tight quest timer of just 1 week to clear this specific item. Thinking it over, the young guy wonders what his next strat will be if no players show interest in the mob over the next few days. The tiny plant keeps giving off a soft green aura inside the glass, patiently waiting for its matchmaking. Looking for a temporary fix, the shopkeeper grabs a small vial containing extracted blood to run a diagnostic. With the tool ready, he plans to ping Director Duan or the whale Tianyan for a carry if things really go south. Then, the manager carefully drops a single pixel of the special blood right onto the leaves of the tiny plant creature. Far away, the massive HQ of the Tamers Association shines huge under the morning sun. The triggered client storms into the lobby, slamming his hands on the desk and demanding to file an official report right now. The NPC receptionist keeps her cool and politely asks exactly whose account the guy wants to report. Venting all his rage, he claims the shop is a total scam, with broken prices and absolute garbage customer service. Following protocol, the employee hands over a ticket form, telling the citizen to fill it out while waiting in the AFK lounge. Flashing a toxic smile, the noob inputs his data, absolutely sure he's about to get that arrogant manager's account deleted. Meanwhile, the vibe is chill in the main hallway where the building's admin office is located. The secretary walks into the office and hands the ticket directly to the department supervisor. She gives a quick TL, doctor, saying a player just filed a formal complaint using his real gamertag. The admin grabs the file and starts reading, but instantly red flags the name of the reported shop. Reading closely, he spots the title Mythic Pet Shop and gets totally shook. A flashback hits, reminding him of the op director Duan personally demanding the association put VIP protection on that exact location. The shock hits the suit hard as he remembers the veteran ranked the shop as the absolute top-tier joint in the whole Magic City. Panicking, the boss slams his hands on the desk, cursing the blind troll who decided to draw aggro onto his department. Fearing the banhammer, the man jumps up and speed walks down the hall toward the waiting zone. Sitting comfortably, the glasses client sees the mod approaching and greets him with max confidence. The admin stops in front of the kid and asks in a dead serious tone if he was the one who submitted the ticket against the Mythic Pet Shop. Super smug, the skinny kid confirms he did it and tells the mod to act fast to stop that scam from ruining the server economy. The boss drops his friendly face and snaps back that he already ran a background check on the place, stressing its flawless rep and noting even director Duan simps for the owner. With a chilling glare, the supervisor decrees the whole report is a total fake news troll post. The lore drop hits like a nuke, leaving the noob completely stunned and muted. Starting to sweat bullets, the guy nervously scratches his head and tries to backpedal, suggesting he misclicked and wants to delete his ticket. Pointing a finger right in the kid's face, the man warns that the server rules punish false reports with jail time, but he'll let it slide this onsu with a massive penalty if he tries to troll again. Shaking with terror, the young guy bows, spamming apologies, swearing he'll never pull a stunt like that again. Without looking back, the runaway client sprints out of the building using his max movement speed to dodge the aggro. Calming down, the admin thinks about the shop's hype and decides he needs to run a co-op visit with his son, who just unlocked his talents. Meanwhile, the afternoon sun lights up the chill streets of the massive magic capital. Walking down the sidewalk dragging a suitcase, a young girl in a maid outfit sighs in depression, feeling like a total NPC failure in the adult meta. As she regrets failing the entrance exam, her talent never unlocking, and losing all the coins her mom grinded so hard to save up. A brutal memory flashes, showing the girl crying on the floor while her boss screamed, demanding a refund for months of useless labor. Drowning in sadness, the girl walks with tears in her eyes and a completely hopeless expression. Looking for some copium before she logs out of the city for good, she walks up to the university gates just to get one last look. The young girl stops at the campus entrance, thinking she'd love to just roam the map for a bit before quitting the zone. But the gate guard instantly blocks her path, warning that non-students are strictly banned from entering, making the girl apologize and back off. Walking away with her head down, she cries in frustration over failing such a simple side quest, feeling completely useless. Wandering without a waypoint, the girl randomly ends up right in front of a pet shop's window display. A weird vibe catches the girl's attention. She turns her head, curious to see what random event is triggering there. Looking through the glass, she spots a tiny plant in a pot and mutters that she's feeling an invisible magic sync with the mob. Inside the shop, Lu Yu stretches on his couch, trying to chill after a sweaty day of grinding retail. He complains to himself that trying to market that plant pet just scared off a bunch of players over the last 2 days, since nobody wants to drop 3 million on a willow weed. Scratching his head in pure frustration, the young guy wonders if the loot is literally going to rot in his inventory and cause a massive coin loss. But the tamer suddenly hops off the couch when he notices some weird pathing happening right in front of his base. The manager squints and locks onto the dark-haired girl standing outside. The sad-looking girl keeps staring at the tiny pot through the huge transparent glass of the storefront. Mesmerized by the creature's glow, she whispers in awe about how ultra-rare it is to spot a plant-type pet. Feeling an instant connection, the girl softly asks the plant if it got rejected by the whole server too. To her surprise, the sapling gives a magical rustle to answer her question, leaving the young girl shook that it actually understood her dialogue. Stepping out of the shop super casually, Lu Yu walks up and asks straight up if she really likes the little plant. Jump scared by the guy's voice, the girl stutters nervously, claiming she was just browsing the models. Being super friendly, the MC introduces himself as the server admin of the shop and says he can grant her special perms to touch the beast. The girl's eyes light up with hopium, and she asks excitedly if he'd actually let her bypass the glass. The two stand side by side as the vendor displays the small pot to the curious client. A warm, red aura starts glowing from the green leaves of the botanical mob. Feeling the magic pulse, the girl flashes a huge smile, stating that the weak sync from earlier feels way stronger now. Watching the interaction closely, Lu Yu is amazed, deducing the girl has insane synergy stats with the willow sapling. Super focused on the pet's animations, she asks the manager if the plant is trying to drop a message in the chat for him. Flexing a proud smirk, the guy translates the pet's dialogue, revealing the plant is literally begging to merge with her. Internally, the shop owner does a victory dance for guessing right, concluding he just matched it with the most optimal main possible. To lock it in, he suggests the client try feeding the mob with just one drop of her own HP. The girl panics and waves her hands to decline, terrified that her failure blood will debuff the pet and ruin his sale. Pointing at himself with max confidence, the MC reminds her he's the boss here and tells the girl to just run the test. Taking the limited time offer, the young girl finally agrees, giving her finger a tiny bite to drop the required HP. As soon as the blood drop hits the leaves, the tiny willow sapling reacts, absorbing the code and starting to glow like crazy. Amazed by the visual update, the girl smiles huge seeing the little plant literally level up its size after the contact. Noting the W, Lu Yu comments that the client has an insane affinity with the sapling and asks if she wants to add it to her inventory. But the hype dies instantly as the girl drops her head, sadly admitting her coin balance is sitting at absolute zero. Feeling like a total flop, she adds that she never unlocked a tamer talent, so she literally can't even sign a contract. Keeping his usual chill, the manager waves it off, saying coins aren't an issue, and asks with a cryptic smile if she's really sure her skill tree is empty. The girl looks up, completely confused by the guy's random dialogue option. Suddenly, the tiny plant starts pulsing with a heavy red energy, shooting magic sparks all around the glass. Caught off guard by the pet's aggro reaction, the client freezes, having zero clue what event just triggered. A massive explosion of scarlet power erupts out of nowhere, engulfing the girl's entire avatar in a tornado of pure magic. A glowing icon spawns on the girl's forehead as the energy reveals she just unlocked the ultra-rare S-rank talent called True Blood. The shock is so massive she touches her own face in pure disbelief, feeling the new buff running through her veins. Happy with the RNG, the MC flashes a wide grin, confirming the client finally awakened her passive. Lu Yu explains the sapling helped optimize her bloodline purely because it recognized her base stats, telling the girl not to throw the pet's carry. Emotional, the girl bows in a deep thank you, admitting this is the first time in her playthrough someone actually had high expectations for her. Fueled by new determination, the girl announces she wants to lock in the contract right now. Super embarrassed, she holds out a few low-tier coins and crumpled bills, lamenting that this is her entire inventory stash right now. The kid raises a hand to block the trade, reminding her the mob's price tag is 3 million, but offers to spot her the credits to close the deal. Hearing that whale-tier number, the girl almost logs out IRL, crying about how she'll ever grind enough to pay off such a massive debt. Taking the opening, the shop boss points a finger and suggests she join his guild as an employee, since he was looking for a support main anyway. With her eyes shining, she accepts the invite instantly, promising to sweat and clear any quest the manager throws at her. Throwing a hyped thumbs up, Lu Yu officially declares the girl is now the newest NPC on the shop's payroll. Right then, the holowaifu spawns with fireworks to say GG to the host for hiring his first employee, dropping a random red star tier loot box. The young guy celebrates the achievement by clenching his fists, visibly hyped about another op drop landing in his lap. The virtual window reveals the item is the legendary origin blood of the true dragon, an item that can patch any beast into a pureblood species if consumed. Reviewing the broken stats, the manager's eyes go wide, remembering a drop of this tier only exists in ancient lore wikis and has never hit the auction house. A lore drop mentions that just 1 pixel of this holy blood helped the country's divine guardian beast break its level cap and hit the sacred tier back in the day. Running simulations, he pictures his world-destroying dragon eating the consumable, predicting his partner will unlock an absolutely unmeasurable DPS. Snapping the guy out of his daydream, the new hire gets his attention, innocently asking what her first daily quest is. Fixing his posture, the shopkeeper tells her to go to the market to buy cooking mats, noting she'll earn a percentage cut for every pet she manages to sell. Super hyped about her new class, the girl skips out of the shop singing, ready to speedrun her first fetch quest. Back inside the base, the tiny elfin Yu floats peacefully and pings her master. Carrying the kitchen gear with magic, the partner announces she brewed the tea using the 1000-star vine leaves exactly like he requested. Being a total carry, she pours the hot buff directly into the cup for the shop owner to taste. The kid brings the cup to his lips and takes a solid sip to test the quality of the drops farmed in his own taming zone. Blown away by the god-tier flavor, Lu Yu blushes a bit, praising the drink's spirit energy, joking that no premium cash shop tea even comes close to this. At that moment, the shop door opens and the new hire walks in carrying heavy loot bags, announcing she's back from the quest. The manager thanks the elf for the carry and tells her to stash the items in the back, while the newbie watches the scene completely shook. Walking toward the counter with the supplies, the girl can't hide her curiosity and asks who the tiny flying NPC is. Casually, Lu Yu introduces Yu as one of his main pets and instructs the employee to address her as Big Sister from now on. He adds that despite her fun-sized hitbox, the elf is actually a 1,000-year-old ancient tree, totally justifying the respect tag. Clasping her hands in awe, the girl totally simps for the aesthetic, saying humanoid pets are just ridiculously cute. With the hype settled, the boss drops the news that tomorrow he starts his professor questline at the university and is leaving the shop's server in their hands. The employee is mind-blown, pointing out the manager is way too low-level in age to be a university professor, reminding him she couldn't even pass the gate check. To make up for it, she thumps her chest and promises with a confident smile that she'll manage the base flawlessly while he's AFK. Later that night, the MC chills in his bed, thinking he isn't sweating the teaching gig but knows he needs to prep his loadout. He boots up the system's virtual store, scrolling through various op knowledge inheritances available for purchase. Analyzing the options, the guy notes the 7-star creator inheritance costs exactly his stash of 300 coins and considers it a total steal. Without double-checking, he smashes the Confirm Trade button right on the glowing UI. The waifu AI pops up to confirm the transaction was a W, zeroing out the tamer's balance and announcing the memory download is starting. Lu Yu puts his hands together to start the sync, while a blinding green light engulfs his avatar. Sitting comfortably on the bed, he focuses to download all the ancient lore streaming straight into his hard drive. A cutscene from the past invades the kid's mind, showing ancient devs and revealing this data belongs to a creator from a previous server patch. Accessing the archives shows that this old society ran massive academies strictly dedicated to power-leveling new taming prodigies. Digging deeper into the restricted files, the young guy uncovers classified leaks about a dark experiment dubbed the God Creation Project. The holo video shows a massive lab cylinder, where devs isolated an insane amount of dark energy. On an old monitor, a flashing red text prompt announces the bizarre divine creation event was a success. But the supposed W reveals the face of a terrifying monster covered in eyes, making the kid realize in horror that the ancients literally coded a demon god. The nightmare cutscene intensifies as a giant eye fires an uncontrollable AoE laser. The result of this insane greed is a colossal wipe that completely deletes the advanced city of the past era, proving the tragic game over of that server. Snapping back to reality, Lu Yu sweats cold, concluding the old patch spawned an authentic demon lord, suspecting it might be the actual dev of the current Darkra. Drained by the massive data dump, the guy flops back on his mattress, admitting just one frame of that invincible boss was enough to give him serious lag IRL. Even with the jump scare, he smiles with determination, acknowledging he still has a massive skill tree to grind through. The sun rises, announcing a fresh server reset on the quiet sidewalk of the mythic pet shop. The manager and the elf walk out to start the quest, while he waves goodbye and tells the new hire to hold down the fort. Standing in the middle of the street, the MC shifts into a combat stance and summons the aggro of his powerful black dragon. A massive explosion of red flames takes over the map, as the winged beast spawns directly from the owner's magic inventory. The colossal destruction dragon drops a deafening roar, flexing its chunky, majestic model in the daylight. The shockwave from the mob creates a heavy gale that hits the girl at the shop door, leaving her completely starstruck by her boss's broken stats. The scene cuts to the massive architecture of the beast-taming university in the Magic City during mid-morning. In the busy halls, students gossip and leak the breaking patch notes about the guild hiring a new professor who's only 18. Two guys chat in the courtyard, with one dropping the rumor that the noob is secretly related to Director Duan, explaining the VIP slot. Dripping with salt, a bowl-cut student smirks evilly, guessing the tutor only joined the server to troll and literally do zero work. The toxicity even hits the staff room, where an instructor complains to his duo that the new hire definitely has 0 DPS and only got the job through pay-to-win connections. Instructor Luoqian smiles calmly, keeping her eyes on her paperwork, replying she knows the kid very well, swearing he's charming and probably the highest-ranked tamer of the planet's new generation. Shook by his duo's take, the glasses professor notes that Luoqian is always super strict and never hypes anyone up that hard. Sold by the instructor's confidence, the guy agrees he needs to spectate today's open lobby to see if he can learn some new tech. Feeling a bit awkward, the woman hastily asks her coworker not to use her first name in front of the noob, terrified the kid might read the chat wrong. The shock hits the professor hard. He's left buffering, trying to imagine what kind of smurf managed to charm his untouchable coworker like that. In the dorm hallways, the gossip goes wild about the new tutor being the most trending topic on the server. Inside one of the rooms, a blue-haired student asks his roommate Zhu if he isn't curious to spectate a professor who's only 18, their exact level and age. Without looking up from his guide, the brown-haired kid replies coldly that he has zero interest in watching NPCs. Agreeing with his bro's edgy vibe, the guy hypes up that Zhu unlocked 2 S-rank talents at level 6, and by 8 was already dual-wielding 2 Transcendent Tier giant dragons. Leaning in, he concludes it makes zero sense for an unmatched prodigy to care about a basic tutorial lobby. Losing his patience with the simping, the student changes his tone and asks if his roommate is done yapping. Realizing he drew too much aggro, the guy backs up sweating cold, saying he's logging out of the room so he doesn't annoy him for a solo in the room. The young prodigy shows he's locked in on his own academic grind. Scanning the pages of an ancient wiki, he gets tilted over failing to channel the dragon language magic encrypted in that ancient tome. Far away, players start flooding into the massive auditorium, reserved for the open taming tutorial. Impressed by the map size, a student in the crowd notes the admins unlocked a huge zone that usually only veteran devs get perms to use. Checking the roster, the crowd whispers in surprise that even the famous idols Nyan and Royan showed up to spectate the stream. Right after, the chat highlights the op-air of the Luo clan, young Master Tianyan, chilling patiently in his seat. Hyped up, the students also point out Director Duan's 2 grandkids camping in the middle of the crowd. The camera pans to instructor Luoqian, who is partied up with Luo Heng, a veteran famous for being the absolute rank 1 of the 3rd year. Annoyed by the hype, the bowl-cut student keeps a max bored expression while waiting for the event to start. In the middle of the crowd, the arrogant ex-girlfriend drops her head in frustration, realizing the girl who clapped her at the shop is also in this guild. Worried about her low HP expression, the big guy next to her asks if Yue is lagging and offers to escort her back to the spawn point. Venting her rage, the blonde turns away and tells her duo to stop meddling in her private questline. The chat stops when a kid points to the front, hyping up that the new tutor has finally spawned. Rocking a solid and confident posture, Lu Yu walks to the center of the stage, staring down the massive raid group in front of him. Mesmerized by the manager's aesthetic, a female student totally simps, praising the newcomer's flawless character model. The shock hits Yue like a critical strike, leaving the girl stun-locked as she realizes her useless ex is now a server admin. Flashing massive charisma, the MC apologizes for the slight lag due to traffic, and officially introduces himself to host the panel on beast farming. Keeping it professional, he announces that anyone vibing with the meta is more than welcome to queue up for his elective class. Not wasting a single frame, Tianyan throws his hand up frantically, demanding to be the first to sign the master's friend list. Matching the hype, the 2 besties raise their arms, begging desperately to lock in their slots too. Making sure they don't miss the drop, the director's grandkids jump out of their seats, pleading for the manager not to forget them. Finding the chaos hilarious, Lu Yu sets a hard cap of 5 students since he doesn't have much hosting XP, telling the rest to wait for the next server expansion. Surprising the whole lobby, instructor Luoqian raises her hand, admitting she's super interested in his meta strats and asks for perms to audit the class. The students' jaws drop at the random request, remembering the woman is the director's untouchable carry and never gave a crap about other people's tutorials. Super chill, the young tutor guarantees she's fully whitelisted for his lobby anytime. Happy with the perms, the professor does a low-key celebration, thanking the kid for the massive carry. Totally triggered by the roleplay, the bowl-cut student jumps out of his chair screaming, calling the professor a pay-to-win clown hired through nepotism. Staring at the troll with zero emotion, the MC figures the kid is convinced he bought his admin tag with dirty money. Flexing pure toxicity, the griefer claims the tutor's own magic stat is lower than his, and even the server noobs have better gear. Thinking the take is a massive joke, Lu Yu mocks the comparison, declaring the so-called prodigy of the Lu family isn't even worth being typed in the same chat log as him. Furious at the roast, the veteran points a finger and challenges the professor to stop yapping and drop some actual gameplay footage. Accepting the duel request with zero effort, the tamer takes a step back and preps to drop a live tutorial for the whole lobby. In a single frame, a crazy intense purple flame spawns in the palm of the shopkeeper's right hand, channeling straight from his op-fire pet. Holding the tiny fireball, he challenges anyone doubting his stats to try and tank that fire for 3 seconds, promising to log off if they succeed. The sheer disrespect of the challenge leaves a student speechless, refusing to believe the tutor plans to solo the room using just a pixel of his pet's power. In the crowd, the young prodigy Lu Xiu watches the stream, trying to calculate the actual DPS of a Starry Sky tier tamer's mob. Recognizing the danger instantly, Tianyan sweats cold, deducing that mystery magic has to be the legendary top-tier exotic purple fire. Completely ignoring the red flags, the bowl-cut troll declares the whole setup is just pure cap. Confident in his own build, he walks down the auditorium stairs, announcing he's going to be the one to expose the noob's fake stats by force. Flexing his loadout, the kid channels his MP and summons a massive, glowing golden sword right into his hands. A second later, heavy armor with metal wings equips onto his avatar, revealing he's dual-wielding contracts with 3 metallic lifeforms at once. Holding the tiny flame, Lu Yu inspects the op's summons, noting the golden blade, armor, and wings all synergizing perfectly. Boosted by his flight tech, the veteran dashes at the professor, swearing he's going to shatter that cheap exploit in one hit. Showing absolute chill, the MC praises the kid's sense of justice for trying to protect the server's competitive integrity. But the tamer's tone drops, roasting the student for having a negative INT stat and making such a brain-dead push. Blinded by rage, the challenger raises his massive sword and swings with max DPS, calling the boss arrogant. Punishing the aggressive misplay, the shopkeeper simply moves the tiny purple flame closer, instantly melting the magic weapon's hitbox. The absurd block speed jump scares the kid, leaving the veteran terrified as he fails to process the parry mechanics. Hit by the devastating extreme heat, the golden blade shatters into thousands of glowing pixels in the air, completely deleting his offensive push. Unable to tank the recoil, the student gets violently yeeted backward, screaming in pure panic. The kid crashes, sliding across the stage floor, muttering in disbelief at the instant deletion of his premium gear. Oozing confidence, the professor announces the cutscene isn't over and tells the troll to feel the actual DPS of that purple flame. With a tiny flick of his finger, the scarlet energy is fired straight at the student, who screams, begging for the attack to get cancelled immediately. Totally stun-locked by the fear of a game over, the veteran watches the divine fire close in, knowing that blocking it is literally impossible. With a terrifying explosion, the flames engulf the kid's avatar, making him cry desperately for a revive to save his own skin. Taking massive tick damage, he screams out a full apology, admitting he hard through by underestimating the new master's colossal stats. Having delivered the necessary tutorial, Lu Yu snaps his fingers to recall the magic, noting he'd never actually grief a student on purpose. Casually holding the spark, the tamer sarcastically asks how anyone could think he'd drop a lethal ultimate in a basic demo lobby. Utterly humbled, the veteran collapses to his knees in nothing but his default underwear, his entire armor set reduced to ash by the fire. Shivering from head to toe due to the humiliation and extreme stress debuff, the kid can barely process a single coherent thought. The crushing weight of the embarrassing L deletes the student's consciousness, making him pass out cold on the auditorium floor. Watching the brutal ragdoll, the shopkeeper lets a sweat drop slide down his face, thinking it's wild that a Scorching Sun rank player has such trash base HP. The whole audience is horrified by the damage showcase, whispering that even a high-low pro would struggle to survive that kind of fire. Breaking the heavy silence, the tiny elfin Yu spawns floating next to her master, innocently asking if he wants her to cast heal on the downed player. Keeping his cool, the professor tells his tiny duo a heal isn't needed, since the kid isn't gonna drop his loot, he's just incredibly squishy. Turning to the glasses instructor in the stands, the shopkeeper asks him to cart the knocked-out student to the medbay, since he still needs to finish his stream here. The other professor gets super tilted by the request, grumbling internally that the noob is treating him like a free NPC fetch quester. Taking control of the lobby again, the MC looks back at the crowd and asks in a challenging tone if any other player thinks their gear is good enough to roll the dice. Absolute silence mutes the massive auditorium, proving nobody in the server has the guts to be the new tutor. Seeing the message was received, Lu Yu calmly announces that since there are no more trolls, he's finally going to start his lecture. Then a redhead girl raises her hand, confused, asking why he queued up for beast crafting when his combat DPS is so broken, suggesting he should be running the PvP classes. The tamer confidently explains that all combat is purely built on the foundation of flawless crafting, making it the absolute core meta of this game. In the stands, Nyanyan whispers to her bestie that after that flex, a ton of girls are gonna secretly simp for the manager, and the haters just turned into total fangirls. The lecture kicks off with the entire class locking their focus on the new, overpowered professor's dialogue. Pacing the stage, Lu Yu announces the timer is almost up, so he's gonna invite 2 players for a live crafting demo to wrap things up. Immediately, a bunch of students throw their arms up desperately, trying to secure the golden RNG drop to participate. Ignoring the spam, the tutor scans the crowd and specifically pings Nyanyan and Royan to join him on stage. The 2 besties get insanely hyped over the invite, celebrating the epic RNG. Ruining the vibe, a veteran butts in, arguing the master should pick other players because their slime and butterfly are hard capped unless the tamers themselves level up. Taking advantage of the interruption, another student jumps up, hyped, begging the professor to carry his pet's build instead of the girls. The MC tells the noisy lobby to chill, advising the players not to act so thirsty. With a confident smirk, the shopkeeper asks if they really think the slime and butterfly are permanently hard stuck. The redhead girl confirms the theory, reminding him everyone knows pets tied to an awakening tier tamer are hard capped at that exact level threshold. Cutting to the chase, Lu Yu claps back that she's dead wrong, declaring the taming meta has infinite skill trees, and the first thing they need to do is delete their own mental limiters. Out of nowhere, Director Duan walks down the auditorium aisle clapping his hands, praising the noob's epic speech. The boomer veteran smiles, adding that he also finds this limit-breaking glitch incredibly fascinating. The war hero's spawn jump scares the students, who can't believe the server's final boss showed up to spectate the class in person. Stopping by the desk, the old man opens a briefcase full of rocks and questions why the tutor is running bronze and black iron tier mats when way better premium loot exists. Watching the cutscene, a kid in the crowd gets totally confused, wondering if the master really plans to use trash tier drops to evolve the mobs. Holding one of the tiny crystals, the professor calmly confirms that these are indeed the lowest tier drops on the market. But he promises with a sharp look that these budget items are the absolute perfect meta picks for the slime and butterfly's current stats. The low-level elemental stones sit on the tray, ready to be burned for the ultimate test. The tamer gives the two girls the tutorial, telling them to mix the mats in the exact ratios he dropped, instructing them to sink it into their magic drives and feed the pets. Totally locked in, the girls channel their MP while Nyan tells her duo to ignore the trolls and just blindly trust the professor's guide. The second they absorb the crafted energy, the tiny water bubble and the flying bug pop a blinding flashbang in the middle of the stage. The redhead student's eyes pop out of her head, completely shook by the impossible glitch happening right in front of her. The mobs shatter their species hardcap, skyrocketing straight to Transcendent Tier Level 1. The guy who doubted the strat is left buffering, asking himself if a basic crafting session can really pull off such a broken exploit. Connecting the dots, the student remembers the leaks about past-era creators turning trash into god-tier loot, and starts suspecting the professor belongs to that ancient class. Amazed, Director Duan comments that the rules hard-coded for thousands of years just got deleted by the noob, something that completely breaks the game's logic. The MC watches his masterclass results with pure chill, decreeing that absolutely nothing is impossible. He adds that if a beast is leveled using the optimal build, not only will it evolve, but the tamer's own base stats will get a massive buff as the two girls start glowing with fresh MP. The live demo makes the students in the stands completely lose their minds, amazed by the sheer level of that broken mat. Watching closely, the veteran boomer plans to request the kid's carry to evolve his own pet once his drive is patched, dreaming of hitting the overlord rank. Super thankful, Nyan celebrates and praises the manager for not only carrying their limit break, but also dropping the secret refinement tech. Flashing a friendly wink, the shopkeeper puts a finger to his lips asking for stealth, reminding them that specific patch note needs to stay a secret between them. The blue-haired student blushes hard, totally charmed by the charisma and massive IQ of her new master. Royan stares at her beautiful magic butterfly floating gracefully around her, feeling massive pride for her carry. The professor focuses on the girl and praises the fact that the tiny green bug evolved into the rare moonlight butterfly, pointing out it's an S-tier growth path. Pointing at the mob, the tutor advises the student to farm carefully for the butterfly, noting he has super high expectations for the pet's endgame. With her eyes burning with determination, the young girl clenches her fists, swearing she'll follow his guide pixel by pixel. Keeping it AA, the guy explains the main reason he carried them was because they were hard stuck at level 10, and as his shop's clients, seeing that was a huge cringe. Trying to pull some ROI, he reminds them that hitting Transcendent Tier as freshmen unlocks fat scholarships, and invites the duo to spend that loot on a second pet at his base. Internally, the manager scratches his head, admitting he totally burned way too much stamina and effort just to try and push some microtransactions for his shop. Satisfied with wrapping up the quest, the MC officially calls GG on the demo class and logs the students out. The players start filtering into the university hallways, dropping respectful emotes to say goodbye to the epic master. The tamer waves back, saying he'll catch them next stream, while his toxic ex-girlfriend watches him from afar in complete silence. Noticing his duo lagging, the big guy asks what her debuff is, wondering if the blonde also started simping for the professor. The guy is brutally honest, admitting the new master is cracked, pointing out the young guy is in a completely different matchmaking tier than her. Feeling her ego shatter, the girl shoots a toxic glare and tells her duo to shut his mic, leaking that the genius used to be her boyfriend. The lore drop catches the big guy completely off guard. He backs up spooked, asking if the blonde is trying to drop a cringe meme. Losing her cool, Yue raises her volume and screams that it's AA canon, tilted that her friend thinks she's capping. Chuckling nervously, the guy decides the girl has fully crashed out and sprints down the hall, saying he's gonna fetch a health pot for her from the medbay. Gripping her phone tight, the woman rages to herself, insisting she isn't glitching and that everyone else's code is broken. On her app's UI, the girl's block list shows the MC's username has been sitting there the entire time. Trying to patch her massive misplay, she types a message begging for a revive and asking to revert their relationship back to the old save file. Flashing a hopeful smile, the blonde smashes the send button, absolutely convinced her ex will accept her party invite. Instantly, a massive red error prompt pops on screen, stating the message failed to send because she was blocked by the other user. The reality check makes Yue go full psycho, pulling her own hair and screaming in despair, wondering why the guy is treating her like a band player. The scene shifts to the quiet, chill hallway of the beast-taming university's med. Inside the room, the defeated veteran is still totally AFK on the bed, while the glasses professor and a medic run diagnostics. The medic Lu Zhu, a young girl from the elf clan, covers her mouth in horror after checking the debuffs, asking if the kid aggroed a Scorching Sun tier tamer. The professor's eyes go wide in disbelief, as he replies the op was just a Starry Sky tier kid, finding it mathematically impossible to deal such broken damage. Super serious, the doctor shoots back that, even though she can't scan the exact level of that residual fire, the dot is lethal and the student only kept his account because of a forced revive mechanic. Staring at the AFK patient, she adds that the mystery purple flames left on his model are preserving his HP bar, literally hacking the game's physics. Sweating cold, the instructor realizes in terror that the new tutor has such insane macro control over his own magic that he can casually pull off dev-level miracles. Stressed about the admin paperwork, the man asks if the patient will respawn okay, reminding her the kid is from a whale guild and a game over would cause massive server lag for the school. Adjusting her glasses with max confidence, the medic guarantees the student will clear the debuff without any bugs under her carry. To start the patch, the young woman spawns her tiny healer fairy, which drops a heavy green AoE heal over the injured student's avatar. Watching the doctor heal the student, the glasses professor is shook to realize she belongs to the ultra-rare royal bloodline of the nature elves. The medic channels her tiny fairy to cast a heavy green buff, purely focused on wiping the debuffs from the knocked-out kid. After tanking the intense magic heal, the veteran finally starts booting up, opening his eyes super slowly. Now sitting up on the medbay bed, the bowl-cut kid looks around totally clueless, asking the professors why he spawned in this zone. Professor Murong reminds him he tried to V the new tutor, but got completely one-shot by a single purple spark. Tilted by the replay, the kid grabs his head, complaining his S-rank talent is absolute trash compared to a smurf like Lu Ziu. Salty about the humiliating L, he loudly questions why the stat gap between him and the new professor is so completely busted. Keeping her chill, the doctor explains that above S-rank there are way higher tiers, dropping the lore that there's always a bigger whale in the server. Having zero counterarguments, the veteran just pulls the blanket over his face, accepting that tutor Lu Yu is just way too op for him to handle. Right then, Murong connects the dots, realizing the new hire is named Lu Yu, is level 18, and uses a character model that looks insanely similar to the famous Lu Ziu. Sweating cold at the leak, the glasses professor calculates in terror that the skin match between the two guys is sitting at an easy 70%. Hearing this, the elf remembers the old server rumors about Lu Ziu's cousin spawning with a totally corrupted talent core. The flashback shows tiny Lu Yu walking solo in the rain after allegedly getting banned from the main clan's hub without a trace. Wearing a serious face, the medic deduces the kid respawned with god-tier stats and wonders how the Lu family guild will react to the patch notes. She wonders if the admins will admit they threw and try to invite him back to the party, or if they'll pick the toxic route and try to permaban him for good. Far from all that medbay stress, the day rolls on quietly through the massive halls of the university's boys' dorm. In his room, a blue-haired kid hypes up his roommate about the veteran's embarrassing L during the demo stream. Super hyped, he flexes that the new professor used a single magic pixel to completely wipe a high-tier op with zero diff. Wanting to share the hype, the boy turns to his friend named Ziu, asking if he really doesn't plan to go spectate the noob. The student pushes it, saying that with his friend's big brain stats, he could learn some cracked beast crafting tech in the elective lobby. Ignoring the tip completely, the brown-haired prodigy replies coldly that only veteran devs are worth his bandwidth. Locked in on his own grind, the arrogant kid states his current main quest is to fuse his two S-tier talents. Staring at his hands, the student mutters in frustration over a slight magic clipping issue between his two skills. The bug in the kid's brain pulls up a dark memory from 12 years ago, jumping straight to the massive premium Liu family estate. In the flowery garden of the mansion, Tiny Zhu was running around happily, playing tag with his cousin of the exact same level. Nearby, the main clan's VIPs watched the kids, pinging Zhu's mom that the talent RNG results just dropped. The boomer proudly announces the kid rolled an S-rank taming talent known as the Golden Dragon's Shadow. Right after, he announces Tiny Lu Yu didn't lag behind and also pulled an S-rank drop called the Sacred Dragon's Shadow. Radiating confidence, the older guy guarantees that if the duo parties up, the Lu family will take the absolute rank 1 spot among the server's big 3 guilds. But Tiny Zhu hears the chat and drops a massive frown out of pure envy, super triggered that he isn't the only smurf in the base. Watching his cousin having fun casting basic light spells, the heir swallows hard, totally consumed by a toxic debuff of pure bitterness. Turning his back on the minigame, the little kid sprints away, wishing he was the sole op carry of his entire generation. The jealousy drives the kid straight into the silent corridors of the massive, ancient secret wiki library of the estate. Looting the top shelves, he finds a dusty tome and cheers for finding exactly the patch notes he was hunting for. Reading the ancient lore, he discovers that 2 dragon shadow talents can be merged into an SS-tier power that breaks all level caps. Capitalizing on the evil exploit, the kid deduces that stealing his relative's talent is the only way to keep their co-op friendship alive. Snapping back to the present in the dorm, the roommate shakes Zhu's shoulder, asking why his avatar just went totally AFK. Still hyped, the roommate insists the genius really needs to queue up for Professor Lu Yu's amazing tutorials. Just hearing that specific username makes the prodigy fully crash out, violently grabbing his roommate by the throat with max aggro. Pinning the kid to the gaming chair, Zhu's eyes go wide as he screams, demanding the exact gamer tag of the new tutor. Absolutely terrified and choking on low oxygen, the student stutters, confirming the professor really is named Lu Yu. With zero mercy, the brown-haired guy shoves his roommate hard onto the dorm floor in a super toxic move. Emitting a dark, threatening aura, the rich kid mutters to himself, thinking it's absolute BS that his relative respawned in the exact same server as him. Consumed by frustration, the young guy grits his teeth, salty that his cousin always finds a glitch to flex better stats than him. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, the student slams his desk, swearing he's going to manually delete his rival's account. The late afternoon paints the skybox, while Lu Yu casually roams the open courtyard alongside instructor Luoqian and director Duan. Super hyped, the old hero swears that the second his magic drive is fully patched, he's gonna ping the tutor to craft an op mob for him. Being super polite, the manager replies he'll gladly wait for the veteran to spawn at his shop. Suddenly, the walk gets paused when the director looks ahead and notices an NPC blocking their pathing. Staring at the model standing in the sunlight, the shop owner recognizes the cousin who looted his talent and says it's been a minute since they matched up. Catching the sudden spike in aggro, the instructor looks at the 2 guys and asks in surprise if they already have each other on their friends list. Flexing absolute confidence, the MC acts chill and guarantees their lore goes way deeper than just being casuals. Staring down the rival blocking his path, Lu Yu uses a troll tone, calling him little bro and commenting on his respawn. Keeping the intimidating pose, the professor mocks the rich kid, asking if his playthrough has been smooth all these years they've been disconnected. Totally shook to see his target spawned here, Zhu screams, demanding to know how his relative managed to roll another talent and switch to the tamer class. Treating the curiosity like a meme, the manager claps back that he also has a tiny lore question he's been saving up for years to ask him IRL. Feeling the pressure spike, the family heir frowns and asks what this super important dialogue prompt is. With a cold, piercing glare, Lu Yu skips the cutscene and asks point-blank if the talent he looted is actually carrying his stats. Without waiting for a chat reply, the shopkeeper holds out his hand and casts a heavy blue magic circle right under his own feet. The AoE of the released energy is so busted it hits the brown-haired kid like a truck, yeeting him backward violently. Skidding across the floor to avoid a ragdoll, Zhu realizes he got force teleported straight into his enemy's exclusive taming dimension. From a distance, the MC broadcasts loud and clear that if the rich kid thinks he can inflict a fear debuff with that pose, he needs to wake up from his dream. The kid scans the massive green plains of the magic domain, feeling the colossal stat gap in the air. In a single frame, Lu Yu uses a movement exploit and spawns right in front of his rival, dropping a lightning-fast strike. A choke holding the aggro player with just one hand, the manager watches the guy gag and demand to be ungrabbed immediately. Trolling the situation, the professor roasts the rival's low INT stat, calling his attempt to fuse the talents a complete joke build. Consumed by rage, the young guy tells him to mute his mic and demands the tutor summon his entire mob roster at once. To flex his build, Xiu focuses all his MP and summons the presence of two massive, majestic golden dragons. The giant beasts open their jaws, dropping a deafening roar that leaks a super toxic magic aura. The spawn pressure triggers a heavy shockwave, forcing the tamer to drop the injured kid's neck. Failing to pass the balance check, the student stumbles backward and ends up falling on his ass in the grass. Free from the CC, the shop owner strikes a dark pose and declares he can finally drop the answer to his earlier question. Acting purely sarcastic, he assures his down rival that the stolen talent has actually been a massive carry. Looking down on the kid with a cold stare, the MC concludes the relative's whole vibe is just completely pathetic. The roast hits the rich kid's ego for massive damage. He clenches his fists, furious at being called pathetic by his old farming target. Consumed by rage, Xiu announces he's about to make his rival tank the true DPS of the giant golden dragon. The massive beast charges in with everything, dropping an ear-splitting roar that makes the whole magic map shake. Super chill against the aggro, the MC summons a tiny purple flame on his finger and sarcastically asks if the rich boy has ever felt the server's divine wipe mechanic. The air gets totally confused, failing to read the opponent's unbothered posture in the middle of a PvP zone. Wasting 0 frames, the tamer fires the purple energy, which snipes the enemy mob dead center for catastrophic damage. Taking critical hits, the golden dragon agonizes as it gets melted by the insane heat of that magic attack. The shock stuns Xiu completely, making him mutter in disbelief that the damage output is literally impossible. Shaking with terror, he realizes the true tier of the ultimate he just spectated. The boss-level model of the Dark Partner spawns behind Lu Yu, revealing it belongs to the legendary demonic monster class. Flexing his Yahello, the professor asks if the rival seriously thought relying on a basic giant race build would be enough to outscale him. To back up the threat, the winged dark monster drops a deafening roar, asserting its absolute dominance over the lobby. Capitalizing on the stun, the black tank dives at the golden beast in a lightning-fast aerial combo. Being brutally CC'd, the enemy mob has 0 defensive frames and screeches in agony from the dive. In a flex of pure brute force, the razor-sharp claws strike down on the downed target with 0 mercy. With the crushing blow, Xiu's pet gets slammed into the dirt, taking critical damage and losing any chance to parry. Securing the kill, the black giant roars in victory, taking absolute admin control over the magic arena. Panicking at the cutscene, the rich kid cries over the whale tier price his guild paid to unlock that op beast, only to watch it get deleted like a trash mob. Salty over the humiliation, he rages, demanding to know what gives his cousin the right to step on him again. Suddenly, the rage turns into pure panic when the student spots a terrifying glitch happening right in front of him. The shock sets in as he realizes players of that demonic bloodline literally eat other mobs of the same species to farm XP. Tanking massive debuffs, the giant golden beast agonizes, totally trapped in that painful game over animation. Watching his main get wiped, Xiu grabs his own head and screams, absolutely devastated. Full of rage, the kid accuses the shopkeeper of griefing the very first pet he pulled, the one he literally with since the tutorial phase at the mansion. Acting fast to dodge a permanent deletion, the tamer casts a spell, recalling his pet back to the safe zone instantly. Having its XP farm interrupted, the world destroyer roars in annoyance, wanting to finish the combo it started. Panting from burning his stamina, the air sweats cold. Relieved he managed to recall his ultra-rare summon just in time. Super chill in the middle of the field, the MC raises his hand and commands his pet to cancel the aggro. Seeing the sudden pause, the rival squints, totally confused, trying to process why the enemy dropped the combo instead of going for the fatality. Slow walking toward the defeated player, the professor breaks the silence, calling him little bro in a super scary tone. The manager brings up the lore that they were actually a solid duo in the early game, admitting he used to carry the kid a lot back then. The nostalgia hits the brown-haired student who looks down, admitting their co-op runs were actually pretty good. Dropping the nice act, the MC points out that despite the carry, his relative didn't hesitate to team up with his own mom to loot his talent core. Cornered by the chat logs, the rich kid backs up, hesitating, unable to pull a quick excuse for his toxic betrayal. Ignoring the cowardice, the tamer flashes a confident smirk and says the kid must be wondering why he let him recall the injured mob. Clenching his fists hard from the tilt, the loser mutters, questioning the real strat behind that play. Being straight up, Lu Yu explains the beast is hard linked to the max-level talent, and if it got deleted, it would permanently brick the tamer's magic stats. He drops the lore that the 2 divine phantoms were coded to synergize, and could have boosted the guild's rank to a server-first level. Triggered by the speech, the rival rages, refusing to believe the manager is still trying to play the good guy older brother after all the PvP. Casually waving his hand, the MC cuts off the rant, assuring the kid he completely misread the patch notes. Flexing a toxic revenge aura, the professor warns he just wanted to drop a little hopium before ruthlessly wiping his enemy's account. T-posing with max power, he swears that very soon, he's gonna drain every last drop of talent from that guild and leave them with zero loot. To wrap up the villain monologue, the shopkeeper claims that one-shotting the op right now would be way too easy and ruin all the fun of the grind. Consumed by hate, the student points a finger, calling his cousin an absolute psycho and unworthy of dropping such toxic threats against his own guild. Perfectly calm and backed by the scary hitbox of his dark summon, the young tamer just nods, confirming he's capable of delivering on the promise. Using the dialogue distraction, Xiu's second divine beast launches a desperate aggro push to save its master's run. Ready to tank for its owner, the dark creature glows ominously, prepping to catch the direct hit. The golden monster dashes at max speed, slicing through the map aiming to permanently delete the opponent. Confident in the stealth attack, the heir screams furiously, asking if the manager seriously has the guts not to dodge the out. Closing his eyes with max chill, Lu Yu tells his rival to relax, since he doesn't plan to delete the summon that used to be the kid's ultimate early-game dream. But he adds that his dark partner just wanted a quick XP snack, and it'd be super toxic to deny him that minor buff. With a glare packed with pure aggro, the MC locks onto the kid to drop the final WL ratio for this messy encounter. Giving zero reaction time, the tamer dashes in a single frame and grabs the rival by the collar with brutal force. Suspending the kid in the air, he announces the enemy is going to spectate, while all their elite arrogance gets nerfed to zero. Even while choking, the rich kid tries to keep his swagger, telling his cousin not to get a big head, swearing he'll perfectly fuse his talents in the endgame. Spitting the dialogue, the student promises he'll still make the shopkeeper crawl and beg for a revive for every single one of those insults. Finding the trash talk cringe, the manager yeets the guy onto the floor like trash, telling him to go ahead and roll the RNG. But he makes sure to drop a reminder that, with the rich kid's trash leveling speed, the stat gap between them will be so massive the guy won't even have the perms to look at his level. Violently kicked from the magic instance, Xiu ragdolls straight onto the asphalt of the university's track, loading back into the real server. Instantly, a massive scorching sun tier flame dragon crashes from the skybox, screaming for the aggro player to drop the VIP air. Unbothered by the enemy backup spawning, the MC chuckles, recognizing the guild's famous bodyguard NPC. Spectating from the stairs, the students panic as they identify the huge, terrifying beast from the Max Fire tier bloodline. Unable to watch her master catch an unfair Nyan rolls up her sleeves, ready to jump into the PvP zone to carry him. Acting fast, Royan grabs her bestie's shoulder and tells her to chill, arguing that griefing the fight would just make it worse, and they need to trust the professor's DPS. Reluctantly, the pink-haired girl drops her arms and accepts the strat, swallowing her own anxiety. In the center of the map, the invader confidently states that the tamer and the dark beast are basically on a death timer because of the massive tier gap. Getting up from the floor with low HP, the rich kid flashes an evil grin and declares the enemy has zero win con against this kind of power. Ignoring the toxic warning, Lu Yu just drops a troll question, asking if the meta is really that basic. Internally, Xiu celebrates, knowing that deleting his relative right here guarantees he stays the absolute rank 1 prodigy of the entire academy. But the student's confidence drops instantly when he notices 0 fear pixels in the opponent's chill eyes. Parked next to his colossal scarlet beast, the veteran bodyguard greets the mansion's old player with an aura of pure elite superiority. Keeping the sarcastic tone, the MC drops the guy's username and asks if he seriously plans on tanking for the crybaby. Being a total loyalist, the minion crosses his arms and replies that peeling for the guild's current heir is his absolute hard-coded duty. Knowing the NPC's script, the tamer clears the path, telling the boomer to pick up the kid's trash loot and get the hell back to their base. Tilted by the bossy tone, the veteran reminds him the kid got kicked from the guild and makes it clear he won't take any quest prompts from him. Shrugging it off, the manager agrees the decline makes sense, since the preppy rich kid is the spoiled admin who runs the server over there. Holding his ground, the old bodyguard suggests the MC rejoin the guild, since he unlocked a new talent and locked a dragon contract. He promises the guild leader will drop a light ban for all the griefing he did to the rich kid, guaranteeing that everyone will be cool after the patch. Staring down the giant enemy beast, Lu Yu asks if the veteran forgot his mount literally belongs to the same guy who looted his talent core back in the day. Disgusted by the audacity, the professor asks with maximum shade if the boomer is trying to roleplay the good guy now. Unfazed, the lackey argues the endgame result was a W, since the kid managed to unlock taming skills again. He has the absolute gall to claim the kid should thank the guild, because he only recovered his stats thanks to the dragon blood already coded into his avatar. Hearing this massive cap, the manager bursts out laughing, mocking the idea of paying respects to such a wonderful blood. Dropping his smile for a hardcore death glare, Lu Yu warns he planned to settle the score in the endgame, but since they're begging for a game over, he'll drop it right here. In a flash, the tamer channels his MP, making a heavy red aura pulse around his hitbox. Immediately, a glowing drop of the ultra-rare true dragon origin blood spawns floating in midair. The bodyguard's eyes pop out of his head, completely shook as he notices the item is pinging and hyping up his fire beast. The boomer delusionally calculates that eating that drop would force his pet to break into the sovereign tier instantly, maybe even reskinning into a legendary divine dragon. Blinded by the loot, the lackey thinks hitting that level cap would put him at the absolute top of the guild's leaderboards, rivaling the guildmaster himself. Desperate for the W, Xiu screams at the boomer to rush the enemy, hyping that the pet triggered an evolution prompt and this is their highlight. Flashing a troll's smile, Lu Yu just raises his hand and dares the duo to push for the blood drop if they really want it that badly. Blinded by its AI script, the giant fire beast charges in, dropping an ear-splitting roar as it dives for the loot. The massive scarlet lizard unhinges its jaw and inhales the mystic blood drop in one frame, desperate for the stat buff. Annoyed by the pet's impatience, the veteran curses the beast for rushing but instantly commands it to eat the dark dragon whole. Following the macro, the flame monster dives at the MC's winged partner, ready to secure the kill with zero mercy. With eyes glowing with pure psycho energy, the boomer celebrates internally, sure all that colossal DPS is going straight to his account. Riding the hype train, the rich kid screams, telling the bodyguard to stop lagging and delete the enemy mob already. Standing like a statue, Lu Yu tells them they're high on copium and asks if they shouldn't request perms before trying to eat his carry. The lackey drops a toxic laugh, arguing the dark beast is CC'd refining the origin blood and has lost all its combat and defense stats. Finding the bug hilarious, the shop owner ironically questions the boomer's logic, while the dark giant just stares at its opponent. He smirks confidently and decrees that a basic giant dragon trying to eat a demonic monster proves the server's code is totally broken. Out of nowhere, a piercing op screech echoes across the PvP skybox, completely jump-scaring the bodyguard. The man looks up in terror, trying to process the massive purple magic storm spawning out of thin air. A majestic imperial bird bursts out of the energy portal, flexing the insane aura of the purple flame bird the manager had contracted. Flapping its wings with max elegance, the new divine pet dive bombs ready to peel for its master. In a lightning-fast strafe, the bird fires a wave of purple fire that direct hits the scarlet beast, instantly blocking the enemy push. Tanking massive damage, the giant enemy mob roars in pain as it gets melted by the imperial bird's purple flames. The bird's fire effortlessly swallows the giant lizard's attack, making it crystal clear the invader's magic was totally cancelled and absorbed. Terrified by the cutscene, the veteran mutters that his partner's tech was platinum tier, and asks why a dragon main would run a fire bird build. Staying chill, the MC counters the question, asking when he ever put dragon-only specialist in his bio. With an ironic smirk, the young guy adds that the reason his pet can eat enemy magic is actually super basic. He stares dead into the opponent's eyes, and declares that the giant dragon's fire is simply too low tier to pose any threat. The shock hits the bodyguard like a truck, making him stutter in disbelief at such a direct roast against his best carry. Doubling down on the toxicity, Lu Yu states it's not just the magic that's weak, the entire scarlet beast is absolute trash loot. Instantly, magic handcuffs made of purple energy spawn around the invading mob, triggering an undodgeable imperial suppression skill. Locked down by the divine chains, the massive beast thrashes and drops agonizing roars under the crushing weight of the debuff. The lackey steps back, tilted, admitting he never expected a random bird to have the combat stats to CC his best summon. But he flashes an evil grin and warns the tutorial is over, swearing a lower-tier bird will never outscale a Scorching Sun-level monster. To flip the match, the boomer channels his MP and pops his ultimate, focusing on spawning a dangerous phantom flame. The dark energy transfers to the dragon, which starts fighting the purple cuffs with a renewed, insane DPS check. In a terrifying explosion of fire, the beast shatters the magic chains, completely cleansing the suppression debuff. Now coated in phantom flames, the scarlet beast roars with pure rage, ready to wipe any obstacle from its path. Scanning the enemy's phase 2, the professor praises the reskin and figures he needs to drop some of his actual stats too. Keeping full macro control, he raises his arm and commands the purple flame imperial bird to morph into the fire soul. Executing the prompt, the majestic bird glows like a flashbang while its hitbox starts pulsing with insane energy. The bird deletes its model quickly, converting into a pure purple energy storm that spins violently in the air. The spiral magic opens a massive black portal surrounded by lightning, totally changing the skybox of the university courtyard. From inside the vortex, the elfin Yu spawns in her adult boss-level form, gripping a magic staff and radiating the aura of a literal life goddess. Absolutely terrified by the spawn, the veteran sweats cold, asking how a Starry Sky tier pet can pull off an exploit like that. Locked in, the tamer calls his ancestral partner's name to trigger the next phase of the strat. The tiny elf spirit spawns, hugging the master from behind, affectionately confirming she's ready to pocket heal him whenever. In a quick animation, Lu Yu spawns a glowing green leaf in his hand, and announces it's gonna drop a fat buff on her stats. The bodyguard squints, totally confused, and trolls, asking what a basic leaf asset is gonna do in a high-low match like this. The manager yeets the magic item forward, revealing it's not just a plant but an absolute overpowered server decree. The adult skin of the elf absorbs the glowing leaf straight into her chest, downloading all the ancient energy stored in the tiny artifact. With her MP refilled, the goddess raises her staff, dropping a massive shockwave that clears the entire map. Flexing a death glare, Lu Yu coldly announces it's time for the enemy to catch their permanent game over. Thinking the threat is a meme, the boomer drops a psycho laugh and calls the kid arrogant, swearing he's going to wipe him right here. Giving zero cares to the rant, the shopkeeper casually waves his hand and tells his divine summon to finish the quest. The goddess, merged with the fire soul, spams a barrage of spells directly at the giant lizard trying to tank the hits. In a desperate panic play, the invading beast fires a concentrated beam of phantom fire to try and parry the incoming aggro. And Yu's stats easily overpower it, shattering the block while projecting magic rings designed to permastun the target. Caught again by the purple light chains, the massive dragon agonizes, taking heavy tick damage from the impact of that high-tier magic. Floating gracefully, the MC's partner keeps a beautiful smile, knowing the W is already in the back. The pressure from the magic rings spikes absurdly, crushing the enemy mob's hitbox without a single drop of mercy. Consumed by the destructive DPS, the fire lizard gets its code brutally wiped, leaving only glowing bones before despawning completely. The contract break hits the bodyguard for critical damage. He spits a massive amount of blood, clutching his chest in pure agony. Totally destroyed, he mutters in disbelief that 200 years of sweaty grinding and a high-tier rank couldn't even scratch the kid's shield. Slow walking toward the kneeling boomer, the professor picks up his earlier dialogue to end the chat once and for all. Raising his index finger, which glows with heavy magic energy, the tamer repeats that the man is now free to log off and pay for his griefing. In a clean, zero-hesitation animation, Lu Yu taps the defeated veteran's forehead, dropping the fatality to officially close the mat. The spell direct hits the old bodyguard's head, making the guy scream in unplayable agony. Unable to tank the debuff, he crashes hard onto the asphalt, completely disconnected. With the mob cleared, Lu Yu turns his head coldly and tells the rich kid his turn has finally arrived. The heir backpedals, sweating cold, and begs desperately for the professor not to do anything toxic. In the stands, the two female students cheer for their tutor's W, high-fiving with max hype. A Nyanean praises the shop boss, saying he's in a broken tier, since that giant dragon was literally just a bug against his stats. Thinking out loud, the pink-haired girl wonders why the manager mained the imperial bird instead of his dark pet. Royan guesses the black beast might be locked in an evolution animation, or maybe the master read the spawns and saved his carry for a harder boss. Super confident, the bestie promises there's zero reason to stress, because the university's magic firewall is literally unhackable. She adds that a high-tier tamer could never clip into the zone without prior admin perms. But the chill vibe gets cancelled when a massive, flaming magic circle tears through the institution's skybox out of nowhere. Bypassing the firewall, a colossal red dragon bursts through the clouds, dropping a terrifying boss aura. Riding the mount, the toxic Karen Su Yajai screams in a rage, demanding to know who had the guts to wipe her guild's minion. Acting fast to prevent a server crash, Director Duan leaps up, body blocking the invader's flight path. Hovering midair with his cane, the old hero uses his admin voice to demand the woman log out of the campus immediately. Watching the drama unfold, Lu Yu locks his camera onto the massive new beast with high interest. The boomer pings the professor, warning that the intruder is an actual overlord-tier dragon tamer, and the threat level is maxed. Flexing absolute chill, the MC says it's all good, noting it's been a long time since he matched up with his beloved stepmom. Calling the strike, the woman forces her monster to hard land in the courtyard, kicking up a suffocating wind ow-ee. Greeting the enemy with pure sarcasm, the shopkeeper comments she's still the exact same arrogant Karen from the early game. Unfazed, the kid hopes the woman can keep up that elite swagger for just a few more frames. Taking back control, the director announces he won't tolerate any PvP inside the university's safe zones. Underestimating the boomer, Su Yajai claps back with a troll response, asking if he seriously thinks she needs his perms to bypass the barrier. A flexing pure brute force, the Scarlet Beast fires a devastating fire blast straight at the floor. The magic impact crashes hard, shattering the campus's final shield into thousands of broken pixels. AA struggling to tank the shockwave, the war hero screams the invader's name, triggered by the unnecessary griefing. AA stepping up, Lu Yu promises he won't let any random NPCs catch stray damage, asking for just 5 minutes to clear the boss. AA respecting the kid's stats, Duan backs off and accepts the trade, putting all his hopium on the new tutor. AA glaring at her stepson from above, the stepmom calls him an arrogant noob and announces his win streak ends right here. Waving his hand like it's a joke, the professor asks if deleting her account would really be a sweaty task. Answering the taunt, Lu Yu's dark beast drops an ear-splitting roar, spawning into the battleground. The system UI pings that the pet finished refining the sacred blood and hit the absolute level cap of the Starry Sky tier. Crossing her arms, the woman trolls the level up, claiming a level 10 mob is just a worthless bug against her gear. She drops an evil laugh, thinking it's completely pathetic the kid actually believes he has a win con with that little monster. Ignoring the enemy's chat spam, the manager channels his MP, popping his magic refinement buff, leaving her confused by his silence. AA fed by the owner's mana, the dark giant starts pulsing with overwhelming power while roaring at the skybox. The shock hits the stepmom like a truck when she realizes the monster's aura is multiplying like a glitch and is about to break its tier. AA tilted, she deduces the kid is forcing a level up way past his own taming drive's limits and expects him to self-destruct from the lag. AA dripping with chill, Lu Yu uses a troll tone, saying jumping just one tier wouldn't cause any frame drops in his domain. AA the virtual UI confirms the massive tree of life has flawlessly stabilized and buffed the tamer's entire internal server. With this rock-solid hardware, the demonic creature shatters every cap, speedrunning straight to Phantom Moon tier level 3. The power scaling goes rogue, casually smashing past the level 5 milestone in a matter of seconds. In a blast of dark energy, the partner hits level 7 of the new tier, completely cracking the asphalt with its crushing pressure. The patch notes drop. The beast unlocked the Dragon Slayer passive, letting it resurrect any deleted lizard into a permanent minion. Super hyped about the broken tech, the MC cheers, imagining that stealing a sovereign tier minion is an absolute massive W. AA sweating cold from the oppressive aura, the Karen realizes in terror that her stepson is infinitely more toxic than she calculated. AA dropping all her elite act, the woman swallows her ego and orders her mount to backpedal so they can log off immediately. AA taking the panic command, the giant lizard turns its back and flaps its wings, trying to escape the arena ASAP. Watching the retreat, the professor asks sarcastically if she already gave up on trying to wipe his account. With a freezing glare, he decrees it's way too late for her to try and save her own run. Catching the invisible ping, the op-world destroyer dashes like a laser, carrying a storm of black mat. In a flawless intercept, Lu Yu's pet grabs the Scarlet Dragon midair using absolute brute strength. The sharp claws dig deep into the enemy mob's scales, inflicting a critical bleed that sprays dark blood. Seeing her carry get shredded, the stepmom panics and screams, demanding the kid cancel the attack this instant. Holding a super hostile glare, the MC just asks what possible reason he would have to drop any mercy on her now. AA CC'd by fear, she begs, offering to trade any premium loot the kid wants as long as he spares her precious mount's HP. AA instant rejecting the trade window, the manager replies he can just loot whatever he wants using his own stats. AA closing the tense dialogue, the dark monster unhinges its jaw and drops a savage roar right in the trapped invader's face. AA in a devastating combo, the darkness swallows the target and executes the fatality with zero hesitation. The sovereign beast's model plummets from the sky, crashing into the map with absurd physics, while the woman screams in pure denial. The impact of the deleted mob kicks up a massive dust cloud and renders a smoking crater in the middle of the university. Feeling the bitter recoil of the L, Su Yaja clutches her chest in agony, realizing her magic drive just got completely shattered. Flexing a pure victory screen face, the shopkeeper asks if the stepmom finally tasted the bitter flavor of actual game-over despair. Suddenly, a dark magic circle spawns over the dragon's remains, proccing the exclusive Imperial subjugation skill. The Karen totally misreads the UI and thinks her beast survived, swearing to re-roll the contract instantly to try and recover her lost stats. But the newly respawned dragon, dripping with a dark aura, charges furiously at its old owner with zero ch. The corrupted mob drops a brutal attack that yeets the woman backward like a total coward. Taking a heavy hit from her own pet, the villain cries in despair, asking why it suddenly switched teams. Kneeling on the ground, she feels her MP evaporate while her rank tragically drops until her account is basically bricked. A slow walking through the ruined courtyard, Lu Yu announces this was the exact debuff he had queued up for her. He points out there's no worse ban than watching a rich VIP drop from an elite tamer to a completely useless NPC. Plus, the professor adds, the ultimate critical hit is having to watch her most expensive, beloved get downgraded into just another loyal, submissive minion for her absolute worst enemy. Crawling through the rubble, the rich kid cries in terror, calling for his downed mom while watching his guild's empire and ego get completely wiped. Spectating the whole thing in awe, Professor Luokian concludes Tutor Lu has truly unmeasurable stats to be able to hack such a strong boss into a basic summon. Watching the Lu clan leader crash out, the MC coldly asks what her next strat is now that her account is useless. Blinded by rage at seeing his mom like that, the rich kid rushes the professor, telling him to go to hell. But the manager just parries with a clean slap to the kid's face, telling him to mute his mic. Holding his bruised cheek, the student curses his relative as a bastard, unable to process the total humiliation. Just then, a booming voice echoes across the courtyard, ordering the kid to cancel his aggro instantly. The rich kid's face lights up immediately. He flashes a smile and calls for his uncle, thinking the cavalry just spawned. The new arrival admits the main clan really threw in the past, but begs the shopkeeper to spare the heir's account just as a solid for him. Staring at the NPC, the young tamer recognizes Lu Tian as a member of the problematic family's side guild. Even though he's just a background uncle, the guy remembers this was the only relative who had the guts to peel for him 12 years ago. The flashback pulls him back to the talent-looting night, where the man body-blocked tiny Lu Yu to tank the aggro. Back then, Tian had begged the guild leader to cancel the extraction, arguing it was way too toxic to do to a low-level player. With zero mercy, the Karen just told him to shut up and fired a heavy spell to yeet him out of the way. That cheap shot caused permanent lag to the uncle, soft-locking his stats and forcing him to play as a basic associate professor at the university. Aware of this old debt, the MC figures he can't leave the guy chained to these two trolls, otherwise he might lag when it's time for the final wipe. To patch the issue, the professor announces he's willing to drop some mercy, as long as they pop a teleport stone and GTFO on their own. Getting the hint, the veteran accepts the TOS and agrees to end the PvP. With a firm posture, the uncle tells his nephew to grab his injured mom and log out of the zone ASAP. Completely salty, the brown-haired kid swears he'll return all this humiliation with a massive multiplier in the endgame. After dropping the threat, the student raises his hand and quickly pops his escape crystal. Instantly, a blue light wraps the rich kid and the stepmom, teleporting the duo far outside the university map. With the lobby finally chilling out, Tian flashes a warm smile, praising how much the kid leveled up and got buffed after 10 years. Instead of getting hit by nostalgia, the shop manager turns away and simply commands his partner to drop a heal on the guy. The goddess of life spawns floating in, happily accepting the master's prompt. Broadcasting her heavy ancient aura, the adult elf casts a massive green restoration AoE over the whole field. The spell direct hits the associate professor, leaving him completely shook by the cozy buff filling his avatar. Amazed by the patch, the man realizes the hidden debuff that griefed his stats for a whole decade has been fully wiped. Feeling his mana regen restored, the veteran realizes with hype that he can now break the sovereign tier cap at any moment. The boomer stares at the divine summon in awe, unable to believe such a low-age girl packs such a broken healing kit. Keeping his emotional distance, the MC explains that was just the payout for the assist and the damage the guy tanked in the early game. The young guy states that by restoring the uncle's HP and sparing the invaders, all their guild debts are officially zeroed out as of today. The veteran drops a heavy sigh in facepalms, lamenting that all this toxic drama is just karma collecting its tax. Miles away, the late afternoon sun hits the massive, untouchable main hub of the Lu family. Chilling on his couch, the guild leader detects a magic ping and recognizes the animation of a teleport stone. Stressed by the alert, the man swallows hard, wondering if his wife accidentally aggroed a high-level boss. Instantly, the escape spell dumps the two low HP models right in the middle of the mansion's premium hallway. Kneeling on the floor, the kid holds his injured mom and asks with a shaky voice if her HP is okay. In a rage-quit tantrum, the Karen slaps her own son's hand away, screaming for him to drop her right now. Blaming the kid, the woman rants that she lost all her stats and her expensive dark pet entirely because of his noob trash talk. The student tries to parry the blame onto the shop manager, arguing that deleting the rival would have respawned the dragon for them. With zero chill, the stepmom points a finger in the heir's face, complaining she made a massive sacrifice early game and his talent hasn't even hit max level yet. Completely tilted, she screams, demanding to know why he still hasn't fused the magic shadows, roasting the kid as a total flop. Feeling the heavy pressure, the rich kid drops his head and takes the L, but promises he'll unlock the absolute fusion super soon. AA consumed by hate, the young guy scowls, swearing he'll pull his revenge arc later and force the enemy to taste the exact same L they took today. The guild leader finally spots the duo in the estate garden and asks, totally spooked, what kind of raid left them looking like that. AA bowing submissively, the heir confesses to his dad that his mom's magic drive got completely wiped. The shock crits the leader. He demands the kid replay the logs and explain the wipe properly. Super rattled, the heir reports the disaster started when he bumped into the unwanted cousin inside the university zone. The kid drops the patch notes. The veteran lackey got perma-deleted while his mom had all her MP drained and her taming space bricked. Making it worse, he leaks that the shop manager promised to ban the entire Lu family from the server very soon. Fueled by hypocritical rage, the dad finds it absurd the nephew is still salty over the looted talent, arguing the sacrifice was for the guild's overall rank. Interrupting her husband's delusion, the nerfed woman hands a small, decorated loot box straight to her son. Popping the container, the kid finds a yellow crystal flashing with a heavy teleport magic code. The Karen explains the item drops a portal to the Dragon Realm, telling the kid to log out of the current map and go grind in that hardcore zone. Dumping all her remaining hopium on him, she prays the heir responds with way higher stats to collect the bitter tax the enemy owes them. Gripping the stone tight, the student flashes a villainous glare and promises he'll clear the quest flawlessly. The camera cuts back to the university, where the giant dark mob is flexing its huge hitbox while flying over the buildings. The hollow system pings Lu Yu that the beast planted a dark tracker on the runaways, letting him wall hack their coordinates in real time. Checking the spy cam feed, the professor figures that power leveling in the Dragon Realm really is the only strat left for the rich kid. Flashing a hyped smirk, the tamer deduces he's gonna have to fast travel to that mystery map for a side quest later on. Suddenly, the tiny waifu AI pops up glowing, saying GG to the kid for hitting 100 influence points and unlocking the highly anticipated crafting system. Happy with the system alert, the guy concludes his massive stomp against the Lu family has already started trending across the server chat. Without hesitating, he clicks accept on the loot and tells the virtual UI to install the new patch right now. A blue loading bar pops on screen, starting the download for the exclusive beast crafting module. Meanwhile, the late afternoon brings a super low HP vibe to the employee running the counter at the pet shop. Resting her face in her hand, the young girl wonders how the manager and the tiny elf are holding up in the college lobby. Dropping a sad sigh, she rests her head on the desk, wishing she'd partied up with the boss sooner so maybe she could have passed the gate check too. The girl cracks a shy smile, daydreaming about how absolutely cracked the genius's lectures must be to spectate. Focused on her grind, the girl feeds her tiny willow sapling and begs the mob to speed level, wanting to get as op as her master. The magic plant answers the prompt, wiggling its leaves with a super hyped red aura. The AFK moment gets cancelled by the sound of heavy high heels clicking right at the shop's spawn point. An elegant woman rocking a white lab coat scans the room, asking if this is the famous hub that sells combat pets. Flexing admin energy, the newcomer asks straight up if the guild leader is currently online. The employee jumps up fast, apologizing that the boss is AFK, but offers to drop a tour of the map in the inventory. Politely declining the carry, the woman crosses her legs and sits down, stating she'll just camp until the manager respawns. Trying to farm some good rep, the girl asks if she can brew a cup of tea to make the wait time less boring for the VIP. The friendly NPC walks up to the desk carrying a tray with the freshly brewed tea acting like a total support main. She pours the hot buff for instructor Luokian to sip, while waiting for the boss's load screen. Watching the craft, the client notices those look like the exact same leaves the manager was drinking during her last visit. Intrigued by the animation, the instructor wonders if the guy is seriously such a cheapskate that he only uses 2 tiny leaves to brew an entire pot. The second the hot water hits the bottom of the cup, a crazy intense green magic starts radiating from the consumable. The impact of that pure energy hits the woman like a truck, leaving her completely stunned and muted by the absurd tier of the item. Mesmerized by the smell, the professor realizes not even the famous premium tea leaves of the Elven Royals can compete with a fragrance this busted. Super proud, the employee explains the manager always says this drink is crafted using the softest sprouts from the legendary 1000-star vine. The Lord Drop leaves the client's jaw on the floor, since a fully maxed out plant of that species has enough DPS to wipe entire servers. Gripping the cup super carefully, she can barely process that the kid has the audacity to burn priceless legendary loot just to brew casual afternoon tea. Unable to resist the RNG, the woman brings the buff to her lips and takes a solid sip to test the stats. A massive cozy buff floods her avatar instantly, making the instructor drop a heavy sigh of pure HP regen. Bathed in the healing aura, the professor realizes, completely shook, that her own magic drive just started expanding with just one sip. She feels she's about to break the level 10 cap of the Dark Moon tier. Canceling the client's AFK trance, the girl points excitedly at the shop entrance, announcing the manager has finally loaded back in. Outside, the massive, terrifying dark dragon hard lands on the commercial street, making the map shake with its heavy hitbox. Scanning the beast from inside, Luoqian IDs the mob instantly, deducing in terror that it's the famous carry that used to belong to the Lu family leader. Right after the landing animation, the giant demon beast despawns into magic smoke, chilling as it gets recalled to its master's taming drive. Walking with his hands in his pockets in a super casual walk cycle, Lu Yu crosses the glass door, announcing he's back at the base. The employee rushes to greet him, hyping up that he spawned at the perfect frame because a super VIP client was camping for him. Flipping his pro switch, the manager approaches the instructor and asks how he can carry her, reminding her the shop offers everything from pet pulls to full account boosting services. Skipping the intro dialogue, the professor summons a tiny, glowing green fairy, revealing she wants to buy his boosting service to power level her nature elf. Running a scan on the floating mob stats, the MC notes the pet only has mid-tier potential, deciding the beast is pretty trash. Tilted by the bad review, the woman rages that she literally fused her rare A-rank talent straight into the pet's code during the contract phase. Pressuring the shopkeeper, the instructor demands to know with absolute certainty exactly where she threw her build path for the mob to get rated as mid. Faced with the client's aggro, the kid drops his chill posture and warns that since she forced the prompt, he's going to be AA brutally honest and drop zero filters on his review.